Alrighty, guys. Breaking in now. You guys see the title. You see what's going on. Charlie Kirk has been shot in Utah, Utah State University. We are monitoring all of the channels right now. We just got some reports from that. I'm not sure who this is on the phone. Luke.
Really positive. He jumped.
Hold on. Let's see this.
We're obviously hoping the best for him.
Yeah, I mean, we should probably call Jeremy. We could put him on the spot.
Jeremy from the quartering. The people are saying that. Look, guys. Obviously, this is going to be a fluid situation throughout the show today. Make sure you guys share this video out as we proceed. Once again, Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, has been shot in what appears to be, so obviously is, an assassination attempt while he was giving a college lecture at Utah State University. Here is the video.
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Oh my God! Go, run! Whoa!
You guys can see people scatter. I've got every station on right now. Can I get this up here? Let me see if I can get Pam Bondi is speaking on it at this moment. Let's see what's going on.
Martha, a stunning scene unfolding at Utah Valley University in Orem, which is just about 30 minutes or so south of Salt Lake City. It's a conservative area in a conservative state, Utah. And what I want to talk you through is some videos that we have seen. We do not at this point have access to them, but they are from the event this morning at which Charlie Kirk was speaking. In one of the videos, the less dramatic one, it is after the shot is fired. You see people running for their lives, clearly absolutely terrified. But the more significant video that is there is one in which you see Charlie Kirk speaking underneath the tent on the campus, outdoor event. You hear one shot fired. Now, when I first played that video and heard the shot, it struck me that it was a high-powered rifle. I consulted with one of our security experts here. His feeling is the same, that it is also a single shot from a high-powered rifle. Shot, it would appear, from some distance. And it appears, and I again say appears in that video, that Charlie Kirk is hit directly by that shot. We know he was hit. We know his condition is unknown at the moment. That is all his representatives are saying. But it is a deeply disturbing scene when you watch that video. We now await for word, obviously, on...
We're awaiting more updates. There is a video circulating out there that does not look good. People are unsure of what all is happening at the moment. There is a video circulating that does not look good. I'm just confirming whether or not it is, people. I don't want to put a video out there that's not accurate, but This doesn't look good. This does not look good. Let's throw it back. Let's throw it back to Fox News for the updates.
Credited with literally turning out millions of votes on behalf of President Trump. And we've just got an ex-post from the president himself, Martha, which I'll read to you now. President Trump says, "We must all pray for Charlie Kirk, who has been shot. A great guy from top to bottom. God bless him." And that seems to be an appropriate moment for me to hand it back to you, Martha.
Jonathan, thank you. And we all agree with President Trump saying we must all pray in this moment. Pray for Charlie Kirk, pray for his family. As we wait to hear more information about what happened today in this brutal scene that played out at Utah Valley University. I want to bring in Jason Chaffitz, former Utah Republican congressman, Fox News contributor. Jason, you were there. I could hear how upset you are in your voice, and I think we all are feeling it. And I just, but you were there. So tell us what happened.
Yeah, that happened like 35 minutes ago. I was there. I was up kind of on the second level because I wanted to be in the shade, but our daughter was there, our son-in-law was there, my wife was there, friends. This is our community. And, you know, there's 2,000 or so people. The Utah Valley University is our largest university, 40,000 students, and people came out to hear the dialogue, the back and forth. Ask them anything. That's what Turning Point and Charlie Kirk's all about. Ask them anything. First question was about religion. He went on for about 15, 20 minutes. Second question, interestingly, was about transgender shooters, mass shooters. And in the midst of that, the shot rang out. Now, I happen to be watching Charlie. I can't say I saw blood. I can't say I saw him get shot, but as soon as that shot went out, he fell back into his left, and everybody hit the deck. A lot of people started screaming, and then everybody started running, as you might expect. There was some police presence, but there was no security check going in, which didn't happen. Charlie has some security in front of him, but you got the sense that the shot came kind of straight at him. And I don't think there would be many vantage points too far away because he was under an awning. It's a bright, sunny, beautiful summer, end of summer day in Utah. And I just hope and pray that somehow, some way he survives this.
Jason, we're just looking at the video of Charlie tossing hats. It's a gorgeous day, as you just said. Huge smile on his face, which is his usual composure. And he's getting up onto that stage. This is the kind of thing, and everyone can see it in the upper hand right-hand side of the screen right now, that he does. He brings a lot of energy, a lot of vitality, a lot of very astute conversation and analysis of the state of the country. And he climbed up on that stage like he always does and started taking questions. I just want to give the full statement. It's a short statement, and I know we're going to hear more from President Trump as we get more information, but this is the full statement. He said, "We must all pray for Charlie Kirk, who has been shot. A great guy from top to bottom. God bless him." And President Trump knows what it's like to be shot at. He was the subject of 2 assassination attempts that were thankfully averted. One obviously hit his ear. And in this case, we're seeing something that looks much more serious, I think is fair to say at this point, as we wait for more information about how Charlie is doing. So give us a sense of this space. Jason, were there security checkpoints on the way in here? What was it like in terms of who could get in?
So in that shot, I was standing to off to the right. I wasn't right next to him. Like I said, I was up on the balcony. I had traded messages with Charlie prior to the event. When he announced he was coming, I was excited, told him we want to come see him. Then I sent him text saying, "Hey, hope I can see you afterwards. Our family loves Charlie. Wanted to see him again." Look, this is classes are now back in session. Kids can come and go. I would say that it's, if I had to guess, 95% local students. Like I said, it's our state's largest university. There were some members that weren't students that were there, but very few. No security checkpoints. It's a very open campus. It's very much a commuter campus. Come on, Orem, Utah is one of the safest places on the planet. And so we just don't have these types of things. We don't have murders, let alone shootings, let alone something of this magnitude. And like I said, there was a light police presence. I'm sure, I hope, there were some undercover people. Charlie has his own a bit of security, but not to deal with, a couple thousand people that were there to see Charlie. They had microphone challenges because there were so many people, they couldn't get all the volume that they wanted. People are having a hard time hearing. But I think when this story is written, I don't think it was a coincidence that the shot rang out when you get a question about transgender mass shootings. That maybe, hopefully I'm wrong. I'll probably get criticized for jumping to conclusions, but I'm just telling you, in the 30 minutes or so, I thought, wow, I don't think that's a coincidence, but we'll see. So, Jason, you know, obviously there's a lot of images out there, a lot of video out there right now, but the university says that they have a suspect in custody. Did you have any sense of anyone in the crowd who was being taken down by people around this person? Anything of that? Well, you know, look, as soon as I saw Charlie go back, you realized that it was a shot. I've been shooting. I've been around guns enough to know that it was an actual shot. And immediately, you know, I started thinking of our daughter and our son-in-law and my wife, who wasn't quite in the venue yet. So my attention, you know, focused there and making sure they were okay and getting people out. It wasn't as if there was a whole bunch of gunfire. It was one shot. Which makes it, and then it stopped. Yeah, obviously sound. Yes. I'm sorry, you go ahead, but I mean that's an assassination attempt, and it sounds from what you're saying that it was clearly aimed at Charlie Kirk and not, you know, sort of a spraying in the crowd. Thank God of gunfire. It appears that this was a very targeted attempt on his life, and They did take someone into custody, though, so we're waiting for more information on that. Sometimes it can appear that, you know, sometimes it's the right person, sometimes it isn't the right person, and we don't know the answer to that yet, right, Jason? No, we don't, but I can tell you, being there, seeing it within proximity, it seemed like it was a close shot. The venue...
We are going to throw it over to Fox now for updated coverage in the moment. Jason Chaffitz is just talking right now. Once again, if you're just tuning in, Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck at Utah Valley State University. I'm not going to show the video, but this doesn't look good.
And we're going to continue to work to get other shots as well.
It doesn't look good. Let's give it a Fox now for right now.
Or this all unfolded, but like you said, we're seeing that reaction from those lawmakers. Things really starting to pick up as we're looking ahead.
Yeah, and I can tell you that we've heard from several governors, as we mentioned, whether we're talking Democrat or Republican. We had Gavin Newsom, who posted about this situation, praying for Charlie Kirk. Now, the Utah governor did actually say that he is tracking the situation. We also know that several other senators, Republican senators, Democrat senators as well, and other lawmakers say that they are doing everything they can to gather that information and keep a look on it. Now, California Governor Gavin Newsom, as I mentioned, saying, quote, "The attack on Charlie Kirk is disgusting, vile, and reprehensible." We also heard from Kash Patel there with the FBI, saying the FBI is closely monitoring reports of the tragic shooting involving Charlie Kirk. He said agents will be on the scene very quickly. Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia saying they just shot Charlie Kirk, a married young man and father who stands on college campuses and encourages young people to get married, have children, stop abortion, and simply live a life for God. I'm praying that he survives. And as we mentioned right there, Gavin Newsom, governor of California, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, but he did make sure to post about this to share his thoughts and say that he's praying for everyone.
And Josh, let's listen in as they are interviewing some of these folks right outside. Let's listen.
Decided to go watch Charlie Kirk between my classes, so.
My name is Paris. I just wanted to come and watch what I thought would be a civil conversation, and it turned completely different.
What did you see?
I looked down when it happened, but
So basically, I heard a loud bang, which I figured a shot would be a little bit louder, but I just saw it hit him in the chest, and then all of a sudden just tons of blood gushing right out where his heart is, and then he like fell over and slumped down, and everybody got down and was screaming, and then we all ran.
Can you describe just, did he appear to be moving afterward, or what?
Not at all. I personally believe he was dead on impact.
Oh my goodness. What happened after that? What did you see?
Everyone got down. Everyone was so scared, and I just grabbed her, and my boss is with us, which is her mom. She was like, run, and we finally got up and followed the crowd, and I just kept holding her. I don't even have my shoes on. I left my keys, and everyone's just like scared. Like it's traumatizing. Like, you know, it scares. It's like I don't even want to go to school tomorrow. You know,
Yeah.
So
I agree with that statement.
Yeah, I'm scared to go to school, but.
You heard the one shot. Were there multiple shots, or?
I think just one shot straight into Charlie Kirk, and that was it. And I think they got him.
And did you see the person who fired the shot or anything like that?
No, I just knew that it came to the right of me and went just directly into his heart.
I got a picture of him.
Did you? What did you see as far as? I mean, was the crowd? How was the crowd reacting to him? I mean, he is somewhat known for being provocative, but what was going on beforehand? What was he talking about?
So the first student got up and they were talking about religion, Mormonism, and Christianity, and the second student to get up was talking about transgenderism and how gun violence has been very frequent with that community, and that is when it happened. Pretty ironic.
Right after, during, right on that topic.
Yeah, it's when he got shot in the heart.
Yeah.
What did you all see? You're joining us. What did you see?
Well, I was about to enter the building. I heard what I thought was a gunshot, and I hurried and took cover. And then I saw the students running out, and I saw her. She was panicking. I thought she was having a panic attack. So then I grabbed her, and we ran through the tunnel, and then just brought her to my car over here to get her to calm down. So, yeah.
You?
I was watching from pretty close up, and I heard a pop, and I thought, no, that nobody's shooting firecrackers, right? This is the middle of the day. And then I watched a fountain of blood come out of the side of his neck like a water fountain. And it was surreal. Everyone dropped, and I was like, where's the gunman? I don't see any gunman. And then I dropped, because I'm just a very logical thinker like that. And so, yeah. And then a friend of mine drove me over here, just barely dropped me off, but he got a picture of the gunman, and it's pretty embarrassing. He got his pants pulled down as they took him down, and he sent me a picture. He was wearing garment bottoms, or what looked like white knee shorts. Just, you know, Utah.
Obviously a volatile situation, and what was the crowd's reaction when all of this happened? You said you were standing there, you know, a little frozen, it sounds like. What was the crowd's reaction?
I was told we'd have a
freaked
update
out.
soon.
We're gonna,
and then after put that out, posted on
we're gonna
True
go
Social.
back
We
to
must
Fox
all pray
at the
for
moment.
Charlie Kirk, who has been shot. A great guy from top to bottom. God bless him. Now, remember, Charlie Kirk, who leads Turning Point USA, did a lot of work in support of the president's re-election campaign. Turning Point USA obviously engages young voters, conservative voters, and President Trump in this election really turned the tide among that demographic, which is historically an unreliable voting bloc, and turned out young voters. Charlie Kirk played a huge role in that. He was active in support of the president on the campaign trail and is obviously beloved by a lot of people here. We've seen well wishes coming out from everybody from the president to the vice president, the Secretary of War, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, everyone here just awaiting updates on his condition, and also looking into actively who perpetrated this. So we'll bring you any other news that we have, but the breaking news from here is that the Situation Room and the National Security Advisor are monitoring this. Martha.
Jackie, thank you very much. The video that you're seeing right now on the right-hand side of your screen is people scattering, which is understandable after this shot rang out. We're told that it was one shot, but of course that is something that could change as we get more information on this too. But you can see the perspective here. I mean, it's just chilling, really. I mean, you watch all these people spreading out, and because you know, we've had so many of these sorts of incidents, and people see, you know, school shootings and the like. This feels like something different. This feels like a very targeted attack in this case, but the scattering is what you would expect as people run for shelter and safety in this situation. Pam Bondi, as you can see on the bottom of your screen, about this shooting, the Attorney General of the United States saying that FBI agents are on the way. You can bet that this entire area will be secured as they begin an investigation into the direction of this bullet, where it was fired from, and obviously, as we continue to get information on this suspect, which we're told suspect in shooting is in custody, we can assume at this point that this person is alive. That's what we're reporting at this moment. We don't have any reason to think anything other than that. There are some videos of someone being taken down to the ground by police. We don't know if those are accurate or if those were, you know, someone in the crowd or indeed the person who pulled the trigger in this horrific and tragic shooting of Charlie Kirk. We're also waiting for more information, and we will bring it to you as soon as we get it, on his condition. No details yet, other than that this was obviously a very serious situation. And Jason Chaffitz reported, and we saw on video, that you can see Charlie Kirk hit and then falling back and to the left out of his chair where he was speaking at one of his very popular Prove Me Wrong sessions on college campuses. So we'll keep a close eye on new information. I want to bring in now, this is actually, let's start with this new statement from Utah Valley University. We had a speaker, Charlie Kirk, invited by a student group, Turning Point USA, speaking on campus today at noon. At about 12:20, shots were fired from a building about 200 yards from the speaker. Now, this is new. According to the best of our knowledge, the individual was hit and was taken away immediately by his security personnel. That individual, of course, is Charlie Kirk. Campus is closed for the rest of the day, and our campus police have a suspect in custody. So that is new information. 200 from a building, 200 yards from the shooter is the newest information from the university, and obviously the investigation is just beginning in all of this. Joining me now by phone, Fox News, Fox and Friends weekend co-host Charlie Hurt. He co-hosted the show with Charlie Kirk just a few weeks ago here in New York, and is a friend, someone who knows him well. Charlie, welcome.
Indeed, Martha. I count him as a very, very good friend, and I am absolutely shocked. And obviously, as
if you are just joining us, I do want to read this statement, very brief, that came in from Kirk's spokesperson, who told Fox News, quote, Charlie Kirk has been shot.
Our prayers go
analyst, so to speak. He is
beautiful family. It was just about an hour ago. Actually, I was on the phone.
We are going to go to right now live to Fox Now, who has a statement from Cardi B, I read something in the chat, sorry. We're going to go to Fox Now, sorry.
Picture of it to me, and he took a picture and sent it to me, and I showed it to my wife. We were driving somewhere, and I said, this is the kind of crowd that Charlie Kirk brings.
If you are just joining us, I do want to read this statement, very brief, that came in from Kirk's spokesperson, who told Fox News, quote, Charlie Kirk has been shot at Utah Valley University, condition unknown, end quote. And the reason I wanted to mention that is because you heard from some of those witnesses who said what they think. However, I do want to make it clear at this point, we do not have any kind of update on Charlie Kirk's condition. At this point, we don't know what his injuries are, so I wanted to make that clear, despite what witnesses are saying as far as what they think happened. We also know that video posted from the event did show Kirk being shot as he spoke to the crowd from under what appeared to be a white pop-up tent, and after the shot, the crowd dispersed, and you could hear folks actually shouting there, run, run, run. The videos, of course, being circulated elsewhere. We are not showing them to you right now here on Live Now from Fox as we work to gather more information on Kirk's condition there. But what you're looking at is some of the live images that we have that show the hospital at this point law enforcement agents from all over. We're not just talking locally, but Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, saying that the FBI is going to be there on scene. He did say, quote, "We are closely monitoring reports of the tragic shooting involving Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. Our thoughts are with Charlie, his loved ones, and everyone affected. Agents will be on the scene quickly, and the FBI stands in full support of the ongoing response and investigation." As we mentioned, Kirk scheduled to appear there at Utah Valley University today as part of that American Comeback Tour, with another stop, as I mentioned, there at Utah State University later in the month. We know, of course, that protesters' petitions had been signed. And Christina, you were talking about one of those a bit earlier, petitions that were being signed by thousands of people saying, we don't want him here on the university. And unfortunately, we see.
And so we do know that that was signed by some of those faculty members. I'll be able to pull it up in just a little bit for you, but I do want to now bring into the conversation, again, want to reset here as we're approaching the half hour. My appreciation to my colleague Josh Breslow. He's really helping us to guide us through what we now know, as Charlie Kirk has been shot at Utah Valley University. And also now joining us is Scott Duffy, retired and former FBI agent. Scott, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now. I mean, we've had you on in so many of these situations, and this is yet another one. Breaking news here that Charlie Kirk has been shot on the campus's university. Are you able to hear me?
Alrighty, we're back, guys. We're waiting for more updates on this. Fox is reporting that the suspect is in custody. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not doing well right now. I'm not all right. I know Charlie. My phone's on fire right now. Everybody's calling me. Yeah, there is a video that is circulating of him being shot. A close-up angle. I'm not going to play it. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm going to go back to Fox, all right?
Heartbreaking development this afternoon, and we're waiting to learn more about Charlie Kirk's condition. But your thoughts, Tommy, as you watch this unfold?
Well, Martha, I've known Charlie for over a decade. We really kind of started in this business together. And ever since he started TPUSA, I was one of the first people that was a speaker and a friend. And we've done many college campuses together. And I have since done many college campuses as a speaker for Turning Point USA, very similar to what Charlie was doing today. So this is so surreal for me. I'm praying for him. I'm praying for his family. This is just so horrific. And I got to tell you, Martha, there are so many of us conservative speakers who go out and do these events, and we want to talk to people, and we want to engage, and we want to have dialogue and debate. And it's so difficult to even organize these events because the security situation is always really anxiety-inducing. I've been at TPUSA events at the University of New Mexico where the SWAT team had to be called in. I've been at an event at Clemson University that, of course, also had to have a big security presence because of the threats and the protesters. And it's just so sad that we've gotten to this point in this country where on college campuses where there should be so much dialogue and debate, this should be the epicenter for this discussion, has now turned into this environment where particularly conservative speakers have to fear for their lives when they go and just try to engage in a conversation. I'm so sickened to hear this. And like I said, first and foremost, I'm thinking of Charlie and his family.
Tommy, talk to us about Charlie, you know, as a person, as a friend, as a husband, as a dad.
So Charlie, like I said, I've known him since we were both, you know, I was in my very early 20s. I don't even think he was in his 20s yet when I met Charlie Kirk. But he's always just been a visionary, and he understood very early on that having a counterculture and having conservatives speaking and speaking to young people in relatable ways was so important. And he has always been so dedicated to that, you know, from the very beginning when the events were, you know, a couple dozen people to maybe a couple hundred people. And now, of course, thousands of people come out to see Charlie Kirk. And attend these Turning Point USA events. I mean, he really built this himself from a very young age, and he recognized that there was a void in conservative speech and in conservative speakers, especially on college campuses, and he recognized that, and he's worked so hard to create these events, and he does such a good job with them, and he's actually opened the door for so many young conservatives to have a career and have, you know, a voice in this business. A lot of us really owe a lot to Charlie Kirk, and that's why another reason why this is just so sickening for us to see.
Yeah, the shooter is in custody. We want to emphasize that. We're waiting to learn more details here, both obviously first and foremost about Charlie's condition and then also about this suspect. I believe Charlie was 18 or 19 years old when he started Turning Point. And Tommy, thank you very much for being with us. We're all obviously praying for Charlie and praying for his family as we cover this story. Tommy, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Former FBI special agent and Fox News contributor Nicole Parker has spoken to a witness, and she joins us now. Nicole, obviously you have a deep understanding as a former FBI agent of what is unfolding as we speak, as this investigation gets underway. Tell us what you know.
All right, so Martha, first of all, everyone needs to pray. That is all we have right now. We have the power of prayer. I'm just going to tell you exactly what this witness told me. I have his permission to share this information, so I'm just literally going to read my notes. He was very close by when it occurred. He is a sophomore at Utah Valley University, the witness. He thought that there were around 300 to 500 people. It filled up the entire courtyard. He saw one shot go through Charlie Kirk's throat. He saw the shot go through, and the witness fell to the ground. He was there with two of his friends. It was outside under a tent area, and Charlie Kirk was sitting in a chair, and it was a single pop. He described it as a single pop. And he dropped over immediately, as I'm sure that everyone is seeing. There's a video out on social media. It is absolutely horrifying, and I do not recommend people to see that, but that is going to be key for law enforcement to have all of that video as evidence. He was about 20 to 30 feet away. The event was from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Charlie started speaking at around 12 p.m. This is Mountain Standard Time. And it was about, a few minutes into it. He said it was about an hour into, what he was witnessing, and it was a question and answer. And again, we've heard, but someone asked about the school shootings, and they asked how many school shootings have been committed by those of transgender, LGBTQ, in approximately the last 10 years. And then the next thing you know, the witness heard a gunshot. This witness said that you could not see where the shooter was, and that they are very, very shaken up by this right now.
Nicole,
obviously, we need a miracle.
Nicole, I don't know if you can hear me, but just stay with us. There is a witness speaking live right now. Let's watch.
I think on a broader scale. Do you think it's going to kind of cause an uproar or anything?
Well, from what I'm hearing, if it's true, the guy who got shot, he was a pretty big influence in whatever was going, like their agenda, right? So I don't know. I hope it all gets figured out, and I really don't want this to happen again.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. From what I heard, it was a sniper from a long ways away. So I don't know. I think the focus of this should probably be on probably some sort of gun control or something like that, so that things like this can't happen again.
Anything else? Thank you guys so much for doing that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Getting live reaction from people who were witnesses in Orem, Utah, at Utah Valley University, as Charlie Kirk was doing a Prove Me Wrong event on campus on a beautiful day at the university. Jason Chaffitz is back with us again, and he was there a short distance, really, away from the speaker. And we're looking, I'm not sure, this is live from KUTV on the screen here. I'm not sure what building this is that we're seeing. I don't know if Jason can see the building that we're looking at right now, but
Yeah,
go ahead, Jason.
I think that's off campus. I don't know that that's. It's not a familiar part of it. The campus is largely cement and green.
I'm hearing it's regional hospital, Jason. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, yeah. See, now that it's zooming
Yeah.
out, now this is Timpanogos Regional Hospital, which is Orem, which is probably a little bit closer to Utah Valley University. Yeah, that would make sense. In terms of proximity, that's the closest. It's not the level 1 trauma. Somebody said it was level 2, but level 1 trauma at Utah Valley. But nevertheless, if time is of the essence and you got to be somewhere fast, that's the one you're going to go to.
So we also had this information coming from the campus authorities, Jason, which, according to their early take on this, they're saying it was from a building about 200. I want to get this right. 200 yards from the speaker, to the best of our knowledge. It says it happened at 12:20, which you of course know. But your thoughts on that, if indeed that turns out to be accurate?
Look, who am I to suggest that the authorities may have gotten it wrong? That may be a little bit preliminary. I was in one of those buildings. Those windows, a lot of those windows don't even open. I don't know. Charlie was sitting under an awning. This is sunken down. So if you're sitting where Charlie is, it graduates up. Now, are there angles where buildings are available and to a would-be assassin? The answer, unfortunately, is yes. I can tell you just sitting there, and again, maybe it's the emotion of it and not looking or expecting it, it seemed like the shot was closer and that it was more direct. But I just, where he got shot and finding the perpetrator, I just feel for his family, his wife, and I just can't even imagine.
Do you know if she was there today, Jason?
I didn't see her. I didn't see her. It doesn't mean that she wasn't there. Right. But like I said, my plan with Charlie was to try to get together with him afterwards. So I don't know. I didn't see her.
Yeah. I think we have a new post from the Vice President, J.D. Vance. Can we put that up? Do we have that up on the screen? All right, we're building that, but obviously everyone is really, I think, just making an effort to bring people together and to call for prayers across all of the universes that he crossed through, and there's a lot of them and a lot of people whose lives he touched. He started this in 2012, Turning Point, and he was, I think, 18 or 19 years old when he got this idea, and he left college, dropped out of college because he felt like there wasn't enough education happening in the university sphere, and really made it his life's work and passion to stimulate real dialogue and real debate among young people, which I think is truly, such a significant gift.
Oh, he's one of a kind. I mean, I really thought that years from now we'd be saying, yeah, President Charlie Kirk, because for a generation, nobody speaks to them like he does. He has built a coalition, and it's based on policy and argument, and it's based on a belief and challenging people. And he was stimulating a younger generation who wasn't getting it in the classroom. He was getting it online, and he was getting it going on television and doing on-campus things. I've been to a couple of his on-campus, and he literally will sit there and answer questions from anybody and challenge them and not always agree with them and take sometimes a controversial position. But that's what he believed in America. And there is nobody in senior Republican politics that didn't admire and interact with Charlie Kirk. He is a political force that transformed the last couple of elections, and moving forward, incredibly influential because he won the argument, and that's what we hadn't seen in a generation.
Let's put up this new post by the Vice President, J.D. Vance, tweeting out this photo moments ago with the caption, "Dear God,
active shooter.
protect Charlie in his darkest hour." This is obviously a photograph of Charlie and Donald Trump Jr. and Vice President J.D. Vance. I'm not sure who the individual is in between them, but we will find out. And, he has that huge smile on his face. He's a happy, happy warrior, Jason, and always has been.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of his appeal. And as you were saying, he helped, I think, younger people. He's helping younger people through Turning Point and through his podcast that is also very successful right now. He interviewed Gavin Newsom. He's trying to bring on different voices and, challenge people, kind of teaching people how to debate, how to ask questions, how to think about their approach, which I think is something that we're not getting a lot of on college campuses. And clearly, Charlie sees the void in that.
Yeah, look, I served in Congress for 8 years, right? I could walk around that campus and a few people would probably recognize me from my time on Fox, but thousands of people would recognize Charlie Kirk because he was talking to a whole new generation who, quite frankly, when I was elected, these kids were like 10 years old.
Right.
And now they've seen him and they like him and they watch again and they learn to think. That's what kids are supposed to do at school. And he does that more than any other class you could ever take. You would watch him online and be able to see how to think. And you could come to your own conclusion, but he could argue both sides. And he usually had the winning side, the very conservative side.
Yeah, and I think that is, it sharpens everyone's argument when you have good, honest debate. And I think he does make the people that he debates sharper, makes them think about their angle and their comebacks. And, good debating is the basis of our society in many ways. And I think he has tapped into that and brought back that energy. Yes, please.
I just want to add this thing. Mm-hmm. When Charlie Kirk first started, the first speaker came up, and the question was about religion. And the guy wanted to debate the religion. Now, the community in Utah is very much members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And he went out of his way to say, I am not here. I am here as a supporter of Jesus Christ. I am a supporter of God. I want people to pray. And we may disagree on certain things, but I love the LDS people. I love Mormons. And if you think that I'm here to debate your religion, I'm not. I love the LDS people. And the crowd cheered. Not everybody in that crowd is going to be a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But he tackled that right away from the first question. And I think he gave it the right, when we go back and play the video and you listen to his answer, he says what he's always said, which is get on your knees, pray. And he talked about your spiritual journey. So even though the person he was speaking with disagreed with him, he talked about your spiritual journey like my spiritual journey. And it was so well received. And then the second person came up to speak and was given the mic. And that's when the question was, do you know how many people, and I'm not getting it verbatim, Martha, but do you know how many people of transgenderism have participated in gun violence and mass shootings versus non-transgender? And as Charlie Kirk was getting ready to answer that and have this discussion back and forth, that's when the shot rang out. And that's why we're sitting here now talking about it.
And that was at 12:20 Utah time.
Quickly determined
we're
to
watching
be
these images as people scattered from that
so
place.
thereby
obviously very frightening for everybody there. Jason, stay with us.
Once again, guys, we're monitoring the situation. Charlie Kirk has been shot at Utah Valley State University. My name's Kevin Smith. Keep it locked in here all day for all the updates. Are going to be bouncing back and forth from channel to channel. The people that are on the ground, the people who are in the know. I'm messaging everybody I know who might have been there. My phone is blowing up right now. This is tough. This is really tough. We're going to throw it back to the live coverage in just a minute, but I just want to say something. Charlie Kirk was shot having a public debate in a public forum I do this. I do it all the time. It's yeah, you know, we're going to go back to the coverage now because I don't know. Make sure you guys keep it locked in here all day for all the updates. And please, look, please pray for Charlie, man. He's a good guy. He's a good guy with a good heart. He's got a young family. Yeah, we're going to go back to the coverage now.
So you'll see them on the scene very quickly and very prominent.
Do you have a sense, Chris? We have, Jason Chaffitz, who was on the scene and understands the terrain of this area. It's sort of an amphitheater setup, and the tent was at the base of it, and then the ground goes upward, as you can kind of see in this image. There are some balconies from around the outside, which I've seen people walking on. You can see one of them to the right there. That is part of this. This is moments before this happened. This is Charlie Kirk's own video from Turning Point that has been sent out of him getting ready for this big event. But the school has suggested that it came from 200 yards away, this shot, from a building. Jason Chaffitz felt that it came from closer in. Any thoughts on that, Chris Swecker?
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at the layout as well, and I can say this. I was talking to a university today about organizing security around an event, something that would be similar to this. And that's not an optimum security situation where you're down. You're in a situation where pretty much anyone in this sort of amphitheater type arrangement can shoot down on you. Facts are still coming in. We don't really know where these shots came from, but it's what I'm looking at and what I've seen and what I've heard described. It looks like a security nightmare to me.
And as Jason Chaffitz was saying, I'm talking with former FBI Assistant Director Chris Swecker. He said, there really isn't much security in this environment. It's seen as a very friendly environment, campus environment, friendly to Charlie Kirk in Utah.
Who is known as the conservative activist.
We're going to go to Fox now for more updates.
In custody, this all happening here at Utah Valley University, and they've released some very limited information. The Associated Press actually just putting out here seconds ago via sources that it appears that Charlie Kirk is listed there in critical condition after being shot at that event. Again, the Associated Press just putting that out. Now, according to Kirk's spokesperson, a very brief statement was released over to Fox News saying, quote, Charlie Kirk has been shot at Utah Valley University, condition unknown. Again, the Associated Press here just reporting he is in critical condition. Video posted from that event appeared to show Kirk being shot as he spoke to the crowd from under a white pop-up tent. And in those videos, after the shots fire, the crowd runs away and onlookers there are heard screaming, run, run, run. Now, in a statement to Fox News, the Associate Vice President of Strategic Communication Management at Utah Valley University said the shooting happened sometime around 12:20 p.m. local time. So we're talking here maybe an hour and a half ago at this point. A lot of the information still developing, and we're getting reaction coming in from a lot of folks there. The statement that came in from the school said, quote, we had a speaker, Charlie Kirk, who was invited by a student group, Turning Point USA, who was speaking on campus today at noon. At about 12:20, shots were fired from a building about 200 yards from the speaker. To the best of our knowledge, the individual was hit and taken away immediately by his security personnel. The campus right now is going to be closed for the rest of the day, and campus police do have a suspect in custody. And while there's a lot of information floating around on social media, we want to make sure that we get the information from police specifically about who this suspect is, because that's something that you always see happen. You see, after an incident like this, people start circulating the information and say, this is who the shooter is, this is their photo, and then it turns out not to be true. So we want to make sure that we're in touch with police before we mention anything about this suspected shooter other than the fact that they are in custody.
Absolutely. And so our thanks to Josh Breslow for wrapping all of that up for us nicely, as well as Scott Duffy, a former FBI agent, giving us his insight on what he knows about such an active investigation. Scott, we appreciate your time as always. You've always been great when it comes to these breaking news incidents as that information just comes into our newsroom.
Yeah, thank you, Christina and Josh. Thank you very much.
All right, so we do want to continue to showcase some of the other video that we have here as well from the scene. Also want to make sure that folks know that we're going to be continuing to stay in non-stop coverage of this event as those details are still coming out. I mean, this is a very tragic situation.
You say you saw us taken into custody.
That's what it appeared to be. From a distance, it appeared to be him, which I had some bad vibes about him when I was on the bus with him, and even text several people saying he was making me feel very uncomfortable.
You, sir, what did you see?
Okay, yeah, I was there and I watched the shooting. It looked like that he got hit, a direct shot right to the heart. As soon as he was hit, he fell backwards, went to the side. The audience went to their knees. I stayed up a little bit because I wanted to see if anyone saw the shooting, if they would jump all over the guy. I saw nothing like that. The crowd was pushing me so that I went backstage, and they were going around me, and I stayed a little bit backstage, and I turned and looked, and they were arresting a guy by the name of George Zim. Yeah, I know the guy. I don't think he did it. I think they arrested the wrong guy. I think whoever did it was a good shooter, a sharp shooter. It was one shot right directly to the heart, and we need to find out who did this. I think there should be a research completely done that took place hours, maybe a day before anything went on. Who could be there and pull that trigger and do it? And I don't think it was George Zim. He was poor, broke. He maybe was on medication, a little bit loony boon, maybe a perfect person to pick and say that did it, but I don't think he did it at all.
So at this point, but did you see him taken into custody? Did you see him with any kind of thing in his hand, any device in his hand or anything like that?
Yeah, I saw when they actually put the handcuffs behind his back. I followed him when they took him to the trooper car when he was kneeling down, and I was just thinking he was very calm, very, whatever they wanted to do, he just went right along with whatever they were doing.
But you didn't see anything in his hand or anything like that, did you?
No, I did not.
Gotcha. What was the crowd's reaction when this happened? Can you just describe what happened? You said you were just walking into the area and then this happened.
Well, when I knew it was a gunshot tucked behind the corner, and then I saw all the crowd running as fast as I could, and I was worried about people trampling each other. And I saw two college-age girls one was having a panic attack. So I grabbed both of them because she was collapsing and rushed her down underneath the tunnel and got her to calm down, then put her in my car and got her hold of her parents. So
I think it's very suspect that he was talking about guns.
All right, I'm taking this asshole off the screen. I'm not doing that right now. Give me a second here. We'll go back to Fox Now when we have someone that has a tether to reality. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. Here's Fox News.
Jump into conclusions. Please don't do that. You're going to disparage people, and the shooter will come out. We'll there's too many cameras rolling, too many people there. But there's some people that the police may have, hey, let's detain this person real quick, that probably had and maybe have nothing to do with it. So just be careful. I think that energy is probably better spent in prayer and for Charlie and his family.
We're looking at some of these beautiful images of Charlie and his young family, a little boy, little girl, and his lovely wife, Erica, married just a few years, and we're beautiful picture of them on the beach. Mrs. Erica Kirk is the handle on that social media account. Jason, stay with us. I know you're going to be with us throughout the course of this story. And joining me now on the phone is retired NYPD Inspector Paul Morrow. He is also an attorney and a Fox News contributor, and as a former police inspector, spent many times as the first person on the scene in very difficult shooting situations. Paul, thank you for being with us as we cover this really just tragic afternoon and the shooting of Charlie Kirk, Turning Point CEO and longtime conservative activist, even at his young age of 31. Your thoughts, Paul?
Well, I apologize for the background noise. I just landed here in West Palm Beach to cover for Fox the Ryan Ruth trial.
So right now, the Associated Press is reporting that Charlie is in critical condition at Utah Valley University Medical Center. These are, let me turn this off real quick. So once again, guys, we've been covering for about an hour. The shooting of Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA. He's been a real inspiration to a lot of us, myself included. I have spent time with Charlie. He's a really great guy. He's just a nice guy. He's just a good guy. Make sure you guys keep it locked into LFA TV all day. We're going to be running coverage of this. I'm going to be running it on all my personal channels over the next several hours. Before we wrap on the main show today, you guys can follow all the updates on my personal channels. Guys, this is real. You know, it's real. When we're out there and we're you know, when I'm with Scott Pressler and we're registering voters and we're out rallying and waving flags and doing what we do, this is real shit. This is real shit, man. If you think that every one of us don't fear this moment every time we go out there, every time one of these crazy asshole leftists decides to write a hit piece about how we're fascists and how we're leading to a Nazi takeover of America. You don't think that shit has fucking? You don't think that fucking weighs on us? Because none of it's true. None of it's true, and these assholes in the media can actually. I tell you, I haven't talked to God in a long time. I did a lot over the last couple of minutes. Shit. If you think every time we go out there we don't fear something like this happening to some fucking lunatic out there who's been radicalized by the assholes on television that think that the world is ending. You don't think I think about that? For my local viewers, you don't think Sean and I think about that every time we went out there? Guys, if you're watching on LFA TV, Pete Santilli's getting ready to go live. I'm sure he'll have the coverage. Oh, man. Jesus Christ. Yeah, guys, so Pete Santilli is going to be coming up next on LFA TV. Keep it locked in here across all the channels. And oh, Jesus Christ. Just pray for him, man. Pray for Charlie. Pray for his wife, his kids. I know this guy, man. Guys, it's 4 o'clock. Pete Santilli should be getting ready to come up next on LFA TV. Keep it locked in here across all of our local stations and all the Loud Majority channels. My Twitter account, Loud Majority US on Facebook, and it's difficult. It's difficult. Pete should be coming up in a minute here. MSNBC actually asked whether it was a Charlie Kirk supporter with his gun. That's wild. That's absolutely wild. Oh, guys, keep it locked right in here. We're gonna wait for Pete to come up, but if you're watching on any of the other platforms, here's Fox with the update.
God bless him. We want to take you now to the scene. It's total and utter chaos. People running and screaming. Utah Valley University, that was hosting the event, releasing the following statement. At about 12:20, shots were fired from a building about 200 yards from the speaker. To the best of our knowledge, The individual was hit and was taken away immediately by his security personnel. Campus is closed for the rest of the day, and our campus police has a suspect in custody. And now we're starting to hear from some of the eyewitnesses on the ground.
From what I'm hearing, if it's true, the guy who got shot, he was a pretty big influence in whatever was going, like their agenda, right? So I don't know. I hope it all like gets figured out, and I really don't want this to happen again.
Fox News contributor Jason Chaffitz was at that event in Utah, and he joins us now. Jason, thanks for doing what you've been doing all day today, which is sharing your experience for the last couple of hours. I'm going to have to ask you to do it once again. Tell me about your day and what you saw in Utah.
I mean, we were all excited. Charlie Kirk was showing up. You know, Utah Valley University, it's our state's largest university, 40,000 students. Our daughter and son-in-law were so excited to go. So I went, they went. My wife was coming to it. It was, you know, Charlie puts on a unique event. There were about 2,000 people, if I had to guess. I was there earlier. I had traded text messages with Charlie Kirk. Excited that he was coming, hoping to see him beforehand. Thought maybe we could see him afterwards because, you know, he's got his hands full of things he's got to do. He started right on time at noon, came out, started throwing hats out in the crowd. Everybody was cheering and yelling. First person, as Charlie does, people come up to a microphone really close and they ask a question. And he got into a dialogue about religion. And Charlie went out of his way to say, look, you know, we're predominantly LDS, or members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, if you will. And he said, look, I'm not here to argue religion. I'm here to talk to you about your spiritual journey. We may disagree on some things, but I believe in Jesus Christ, and I believe he's our Savior. And the crowd loved that. I mean, he really relates to members of my church that are there in that community. Then the second question came up, and the second person, about 20 minutes after the hour, came up and he started to ask a question about, do you know, Charlie, how many, and I'm paraphrasing, how many people are killed in mass shootings by transgenders and people that are engaged in transgender? And as that dialogue started, one shot, I was watching Charlie. In this video that you're seeing, I'm kind of off to Charlie's right, up on that second balcony. And I could see Charlie immediately fall back into his left. And the crowd hit the ground and started screaming, and then people started running. My focus turned to my family and making sure they're okay. But it was obvious that Charlie wasn't. And the crowd scattered, and now we're in prayer, praying that some miracle will happen and that Charlie and his family somehow, some way will be okay.
Yeah, we share in those prayers, Jason. From your vantage point, what were you able to see? There are videos circulating on social media, and many people have been able to see what looks like horrific details of exactly what went down. From your vantage point, what were you able to see, and how did you know or have some suspicion about the condition of Charlie?
Because he immediately fell back. He immediately, you know, he kind of went like this and immediately fell backwards. The proximity to that gunshot. And look, I've been around a lot of guns. Not as many as some others, but probably more than your average person. And just one shot. But it seemed to me, and again, I was there, and the university's putting out something that says to the contrary. I don't think those buildings are 200 yards away. I think they're even closer than that. Most of those windows don't even open. So again, I'm not trying to create some sort of conspiracy here. I can just tell you that from my vantage point, hearing what I heard, and the acoustics are different, right? In an arena that has a lot of cement around it, it seemed to me like the shot was a lot closer than that. It just seemed like maybe it was a long distance, it could have been a higher caliber, rifle from a further distance, but the time span between the shot and Charlie going down was just almost instantaneous. And then everybody started scattering. There was a bit of panic, as you might imagine. And I left to, go check on my family, and they were immediately tending to Charlie.
Were you able to see, Jason, how quickly they were capable of getting Charlie out of the scene, perhaps on his way to the hospital? How quickly did he receive medical attention?
It seemed like it was very quick given the circumstances, but remember, he's under an awning. If you go under the awning, back where he came from, it looks like that's where his vehicle came in, so he could walk in. In fact, when he was coming into the arena, you could see it in that shot. See back behind there, the blue, that's how he walked in, and that's how they walk out, but it's totally covered. The crowd was such that there were people that were gathered above Charlie, and the police had moved them back to the sides. But this is probably 95% student age, younger than 30 years old. There were some people in the community like me that were there because it was Charlie Kirk and it was Turning Point. We wanted to see it. But mostly it was college age people that were there. And the beauty of what Charlie does is he lets anybody, no matter where you are in the political spectrum, come up, let's have a discussion. There's nothing more American than that. And so to have this happen, I'm still in shock that we're having this discussion, Will.
I am as well, Jason. It is, sad and poetic illustration that Charlie standing under an awning that reads, "Prove me wrong," taking on all comers who wants to have a dialogue with him, as he's done on college campus after college campus in front of thousands. And the only rebuttal that someone seems to be able to muster is a gunshot. Jason, I know it's been a tough day, and it will continue to be perhaps for many of us. And we thank you for all the time that you're giving to us and sharing your experience there in Utah.
Thanks, Will.
All right. Let's go now to Jonathan Hunt with more details and reaction on the shooting. Jonathan?
Yeah, well, it's an extraordinary scene that we have watched video of right now. We are not airing the moment of the gunshot for obvious reasons, but I can tell you it is deeply disturbing as you watch it. Charlie Kirk sitting under that small tent that we saw on the campus there of Utah Valley University. He is sitting under there when you hear a single shot, which clearly, from those of us who have some familiarity with weapons, sounds like a high-powered rifle. The university saying it was shot from around 200 yards, as you heard Jason Chaffitz there saying he thought it was closer than that. Some of the buildings, which are 2 or 3 stories high, surrounding the area around a sort of amphitheater there, and the tent on one side of that amphitheater looked to be more like 50 to 100 yards away, but those details will come out. We have also seen video of someone apparently on the campus being arrested. We do not know, obviously, at that point if the video that we have seen is the shooter. I can tell you that the person who was being led away by police was an elderly gentleman, looked to me to be in his 60s. Again, we have no idea at this point, no official confirmation that that is indeed the alleged shooter. But clearly, Charlie Kirk was hit directly by that single shot. And we're now getting a lot of reaction on X from politicians on both sides of the aisle. From Senate Majority Leader John Thune, for instance, quote, "There is no place in our country for political violence, period. Full stop. Please join me in praying for Charlie Kirk." From House Speaker Johnson, "Please join us in praying for our good friend, Charlie Kirk." From Steve Scalise, "Please join me in praying for Charlie Kirk after this senseless act." DNC Chair Ken Martin writes, "I'm horrified by the news coming out of Utah about the attack on Charlie Kirk. Political violence has no place in our country, not now and not ever. Praying for him and his family." Here in California, Governor Gavin Newsom saying, quote, The attack on Charlie Kirk is disgusting, vile, and reprehensible. In the United States of America, we must reject political violence in every form. And from former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, quote, "The horrific shooting today at Utah Valley University is reprehensible. Political violence has absolutely no place in our nation. All Americans should pray for Charlie Kirk's recovery and hold the entire UVU community in our hearts as they endure the trauma of this gun violence." And from former Vice President Kamala Harris, quote, "I am deeply disturbed by the shooting in Utah. Doug and I send our prayers to Charlie Kirk and his family. Let me be clear, political violence has no place in America. I condemn this act, and we all must work together to ensure this does not lead to more violence." Also speaking out, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, whose wife Gabby Giffords was shot at a political event in 2011. Listen here.
I mean, it's just another horrible act of political violence that has no place in our country. I mean, it's just kind of a loss of words. It is, a horrendous thing to see, and it happens all too often. I'm thinking about him and his, family, and, I hope, that he makes a recovery from this.
I think, Charlie, Will, that Mark Kelly there, Senator Kelly, speaks for all of us when he says, with regard to what has happened to Charlie Kirk, that we are all at a loss for words today. An extraordinary act of political violence, Will, and we wait to hear more, obviously, about Charlie Kirk's condition. Will?
All right. Thank you for that report, Jonathan. Sure. In addition to those politicians, almost every conservative influencer that you can imagine, almost every Politico, has posted today on social media sending their prayers to Charlie Kirk. Almost everyone has invoked him as a friend. I heard Sandra Smith and John Roberts talk earlier today about their friendship with Charlie Kirk. I, as well, have a friendship with Charlie Kirk. That doesn't make any one of us unique. It actually makes Charlie unique. In a game and in a business where there is so much selfishness and so much self-focus and zero-sum game and competition, Charlie Kirk is a giving and willing friend who will send you a message praising your work, who's always there to support. And Charlie Kirk, knowing the threats that follow him, bravely continued to go out there every day and take on anyone who might disagree, to engage. That's why you'll see all over the place today prayers for Charlie Kirk. All right, let's bring in Joey Gallegos, who is a sophomore at Utah Valley University and was on the scene today. Joey, thank you for being with us here today. I take it you were in the crowd, some thousands there at the university. Yeah. Please share with us your experience.
So I was right there up at the barricade, and I was like 15, maybe 10 feet away from Charlie. And I remember the debater who was debating asked him about transgender gun violence or something, and then and that's when I heard I was recording it, and then I heard the loud bang, which I can only imagine was a gunshot because everyone immediately dropped to the floor. And then it was just chaos. Like, everyone was screaming, everyone was trying to get over each other, get over the barricade to get out of the courtyard. It didn't really register to me that what happened until I was a little bit out of it, and that's when the fear really struck. And I just called up my loved ones, just bawling, making sure, that I was alive. But yeah, it was not very fun.
Joey, I think that I heard you say you were something like only 15 feet away from Charlie. Were you able, because I think everybody watching is hoping, praying, and seeking information on the condition of Charlie, were you able to see him after this horrible shooting?
To get out there and start talking before you know what happened.
I dropped to look at my phone to stop it, and that's when the gun went off. But I do remember, as I was trying to run away, like, I think he was on the floor, like, but I rewatched the video that I had took, and you could see him, like, jump back and then fall off. So I really hope he's okay, but from the looks of it, I don't know.
Joey, I have two boys, both teenagers. They often say to me, "Do you know Charlie Kirk?" And I say, "Yes, I'm friends with Charlie Kirk." A lot of young people, when I meet them, Last weekend, I was at a college campus at Ohio State, and they asked me, do I know Charlie Kirk?
Right now,
What is it
law
about
enforcement,
Charlie Kirk that brought you and so many out today in Utah?
Well, I just remember, I remember watching him like about a year ago, and he was just really, really inspiring, you know, just to the youth of our country, and just all of his ethics, his morale, it was everything. It was life-changing for me, honestly. Like, I became a Republican because of Charlie. Everything he said just made sense, and it just clicked in my head. And I was so excited to go out today and just like see him in action. You know, like, he's a really nice, respectful guy. You know, like all he's doing is debating and like just your disagreements. And so I really don't know what would bring anyone to do that to him.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the event today and the crowd? Was it mostly young people like yourself? Was it mostly students? Was it mostly people excited to see Charlie?
Yeah, so I had gotten there around like 11 because I just got out of class, but there was people there before 11, like 9, 10, like just camping out just to see him. Even some people in my class were gonna go, and there was just tons of crowds. So it was just a bunch of students, you know, who were just really excited to like listen to a guy who has like-minded beliefs and stuff. And yeah, it was pretty big. There was a lot of people there.
All right. Well, Joey, I know it's been a difficult day. We thank you for sharing some of what your experiences was today with us. And again, I know you join us in our prayers for Charlie. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Let's go now to Fox News senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich. She has some reaction from the White House.
Yeah, well, we were told less than an hour ago that the Situation Room and the National Security Advisor Marco Rubio, who's also the Secretary of State, were actively monitoring this, engaging with state officials to try to learn the latest about Charlie's condition and also any information on who committed this horrible act. Since then, I have gotten no answers to any of the texts and calls and emails I've sent. A lot of closed doors in the upper press area, and I'm told people are basically just huddling in the Oval Office and closely monitoring what's going on. Obviously, the Situation Room's also engaged. A lot of concern was just written on their faces. Most of the people in the press area are, press office rather, that work for this administration are young people themselves. But from the president on down, so much admiration for Charlie Kirk. He was obviously a strong supporter of the president, animated a youth vote that we hadn't seen really come out reliably in past elections, and really made a difference for President Trump, and just a speaker who engaged people in such a unique way. Just a lot of shock and concern on the faces of the officials here that I spoke with. And since that update that they were monitoring and searching for information on what's going on, I haven't gotten anything new. There are a lot of conflicting reports circulating on the internet about the suspect and also his condition. I can say that the school said that they had somebody in custody. We are not ready to say if that person is the shooter or if there are potentially other people that are still being looked for. One law enforcement source told me that they could not confirm that the person that was in the school's custody was in fact the perpetrator. So just quickly developing a situation here, awaiting any more news from officials. The president shared his concern, called for prayers, as did the vice president, the secretary of war, so many officials from the top on down. And outside the White House, I don't see any change in security posture just yet, but we have asked if Secret Service is on high alert as a result of this apparent act of political violence. So just awaiting anything new that we can share with you, Will.
Jackie, we've seen the social media post today from the Vice President, from the Secretary of War. You know as well as I do that Charlie was not just influential with students and young people, but he was influential with the White House. And he was on a personal level friends with many of the men that we were just discussing. I know for a fact his friendship with many of those now world leaders. What, if you've had any chance to connect with them today, what have you gathered? What is their mindset and the climate inside the White House?
just horror that this could happen to somebody who is so close to them. You know, this administration, I think, has taken sort of a new approach of integrating different types of media, and Charlie certainly fits in that category as somebody who is very active online and who brought the political conversation to sort of a demographic that might not otherwise see it in print or on television. They are sort of forward-leaning and trying to engage audiences in different places. And Charlie goes to the schools where kids, voters, young voters are. That was where this happened today. So seeing that come full circle, you know, just a lot of concern written all over their faces when I went up there. But now, the last time I went up, doors are closed, and as I'm told, they are
a very
huddling.
Dynamic situation here following all of these top headlines. Of course, Charlie Kirk, the CEO, co-founder of the conservative youth organization Turning Point USA, right now at the last check, critical condition after shots rang out there on that campus. We're hearing different commentary from eyewitnesses on the ground. We're also expecting to hear from Speaker Mike Johnson. Plenty of reaction from lawmakers as Charlie Kirk, a very familiar name and face within a lot of the conservative circles. Let's take you right now out to more witnesses on the ground in Orem, Utah, as they describe the scene. On the ground in Orem, describe the scene.
How long would you say it took for everyone to get out of the area?
Probably for a little bit. I think maybe like up to 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Yeah, everybody was packed, and there were only two entrances basically, of what I've seen, on the right side and the left side. So it took for a while, and there was a big chunk of people gathered together, and they were trying to leave throughout the door. So yeah, it was there for a while. Some people were actually trying to find who was a shooter there, and they were screaming and yelling, and yeah, but I was just trying to get out of the scene super quick. So
have you been able to make contact with anyone you were with?
I have. Everybody's safe with their families and friends. Yeah, and I called them, and they asked me if I was okay, and I'm fine, and everybody's doing okay. So yeah. One shot. Yep. I just heard clear shot. Boom, and that was it. Yeah.
And I mean, as we're waiting for more information, what's kind of going through your head as you want more information too?
Yeah, right now, like I said, I'm trying to digest everything, so I don't know if I can take more information down right now. But as soon as I know, I just hope everybody's safe, and especially a significant individual like Charlie Kirk that is willing to open up and speak at a university like this. I just hope everybody's okay. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you talking with us. And so we're here on campus, and it's a ghost town. We walked through a little bit.
We got listening in there. Eyewitness described they do say they did hear just one shot heard as he was speaking to a crowd, hundreds, thousands there on hand for this. Of course, AP continuing to report he's in critical condition after being shot there in Utah. Of course, videos posted on social media circulating, very disturbing, from Utah Valley University show Kirk speaking into a handheld microphone while sitting under a white tent with the slogans, "The American Comeback" and "Prove Me Wrong." A single shot rings out. Kirk can be reaching up with his right hand as blood potentially gushes from the side of his neck. Very disturbing, very dynamic scene. We're hearing from different people there on hand for this. Hundreds, thousands of people. We're going to hear from Speaker Mike Johnson here in just a short bit of time. But again, we've heard Charlie Kirk there so many times in different conservative circles. And this from the president saying we must all pray for Charlie Kirk, who has been shot, a great guy from top to bottom. God bless him. So plenty of reaction right now as we're also potentially hearing on the ground on Capitol Hill, Chip Roy, the Republican, speaking out. Let's listen in.
Strong guy, he's a good man. I hope, praying for him. I don't know the status. I have no idea. I keep getting conflicting reports, so pray.
All right, you just heard there, Chip Roy, conflicting reports right now about the condition in which Charlie Kirk is in right now, but the AP reporting critical condition. So we're going to continue to follow that here on Live Now from Fox. So this is just a scene there from the ground in Orem, Utah, on the campus of Utah Valley University. And I believe we're going to be joined right now by a reporter that was a witness to what transpired today. Eva Terry from Deseret News. You're live on Live Now from Fox right now. Can you hear me? Can you describe what you heard, what you saw today?
Hey, yes, this is Eva Terry with Deseret News. I'm here also I've been here all morning with another reporter named Emma Pitts, and we were here an hour before talking to students. It was a really exciting, upbeat atmosphere, and there were a lot of underclassmen there. We talked to quite a few freshmen who were just really amped up and excited to see him. And then he got through his first question, and then at his second question, it was about the student asked him a question about how many transgender shooters there had been in U.S. history, and he responded. The student asked another question. Charlie Kirk went to go pick up the microphone. And that's when he was shot. It looks like it was on the left side of his neck. And it was pretty bloody. He lifted his arms up a little bit, and then he went limp and he fell. And then all of the students, everyone in the audience, the big amphitheater, we all crouched down, stayed there for about 30 or 40 seconds, and then just ran.
Yeah, I can only imagine. We're seeing on social media some of those chaotic moments in the immediate aftermath. How far away were you from Charlie Kirk when you heard that shot ring out?
Emma and I were about 3 or 4 rows back of people, so we were really close.
Can you describe the scene? Because like you mentioned, I can only imagine what someone is thinking in this moment. Can you describe the chaos right after that? Were there people tending to Charlie Kirk? Were there people running, potentially scared for their lives?
I think everyone in the audience was just focused on, I don't want to also be shot, because it was clear that it was a shooter. It sounded like, I talked to some students afterwards. They said they thought it was a firecracker. It was a pretty, for gunshots, it was a pretty quiet pop. And then it just turned into chaos. So Emma and I ran about a minute or two into another classroom and then just went under a desk. And no one really knew what was going on. So we're in there, and the administrators in there didn't know what was going on either.
All right, and obviously this is a very dynamic situation, very fluid. The AP reporting that Charlie Kirk remaining in critical condition. I do want to put up a post from Deseret News talking about the shooter, saying it was initially believed that the shooter was in custody. Officials now saying the suspect is not in custody. Can you provide any clarity? Do you know if they have a shooter? Are you aware of anything?
So we initially thought that the shooter was a man who had been taken away by police. He looked like he was a man in his 50s or 60s, an older gentleman wearing a worker's uniform. But reports are that they're still looking for someone. So they've cleared all of the students off of campus. So yeah, we have no official reports of who the shooter is and if he's been caught.
Is there a lockdown though? Because sometimes when active shooters like this, have you been alerted of a lockdown if they don't have a suspect?
I have not been alerted of any official reporting from police yet, but they have removed all students from campus and it's completely shut down.
All right, very good. And can you just set the scene one more time? Because Charlie Kirk does go to all of these college campuses coast to coast here and speak to them about the conservative values, about his mindset, about his perspective. But obviously there is the other side to it. Can you talk about that? How much people were excited for him to be there on the campus at UVU, but also I heard there was a petition against having him attend. Can you speak to that at all?
Right. So there was a petition for him not to come. It was signed by a lot of people. And above him on the balcony, because it was in kind of a bowl. So there were probably 10 or 15 protesters with signs and one pride flag. But most of the people in the crowd were just really excited to see Charlie Kirk. Like we talked to one sophomore here at UVU who had a big cutout of Trump and people were wanting to take pictures with it. And there was an older couple behind us who came down from probably like 15 or 20 minutes away. And so generally everyone in the bowl who was actually participating in the event seemed really excited for him to be there.
Have you ever spoken to Charlie Kirk? Because he does go to these campuses. He's in the news a lot. He's a commentator on all of these sorts of things. Have you ever had an audience with him? Have you ever spoken to Charlie Kirk yourself?
So I have not personally, but my friend and colleague Brigham Tomko just recently went down into the profile of him in Florida. So he's had good correspondence with Charlie, and he just had praises to sing about him and how much he loved God and his family.
And obviously, the rise to popularity, to prominence for Charlie Kirk was very quick. Can you describe that at all? If people aren't aware of who Charlie Kirk is, what he stands for, what he's about, can you describe that for our audience here?
Yeah, so Charlie Kirk is the founder of TPUSA, which is a college conservative group. He has been doing these debates for a long time now, and he just really speaks to traditional conservative values. He's very pro-family. He's very pro-faith. He's very public about his faith. He's a very devout Christian. He's an evangelical. Yeah, he's been kind of an icon for college students, especially here at UVU.
Yeah, and obviously speaking to the kind of the youth movement, that was a big point of President Trump's win in November to get back the White House. I want to ask you, have you spoken to any witnesses? I imagine everyone is fleeing at the same time. You may have gone into the same classroom as people, students, otherwise there. What are they thinking? What are their sentiment right now?
There was a lot of fear among the students, especially the younger girls who I talked to. I got some videos from students that they had taken on their own phones, and you can see people just cowering. A lot of fear, but then there also just seems to be there was a lot of patriotism before. So, yeah, across the board, it was very positive beforehand and very somber afterwards.
Yeah, and as a reporter there on the ground, Eva Terry with Deseret News, what questions do you still have? What questions do you want answered after this moment? Because there is certainly going to be reaction, fallout from this. When you think of what comes next and what you want to ask of authorities, because I imagine there's going to be a press conference, you will likely be present for that. What do you want to know?
Well, first of all, I think it's very important to know who shot Charlie Kirk. What is his history? Has he been arrested before? If he has been arrested before, why was he able to come? So a lot of questions around the shooter himself or herself, whoever it was. But aside from that, just also what universities are going to do moving forward for events like this. I think it's really important to have debate with conservatives and across the whole political aisle. So
yeah.
Moving forward, what is that going to look like?
Yeah, and that kind of, I just thought of that question about that security on hand. Did you see police officers? Was there a security presence at this event at all? I imagine, obviously, he's just a commentator. He's not necessarily a lawmaker, wasn't voted into office in some sort of way, which would have potentially protection. Was there security around?
Right. So Emma, the other reporters here from Deseret News, Emma Pitts and we both had tickets, but there was no one checking tickets. There were no metal detectors. We came in. All the students had their backpacks, bags. Yeah, there was no vetting or anything as we were going into the event. We did see police officers on campus. We also saw Charlie Kirk had a team of a few security guards with him. They had a couple vans. Just with their own equipment and stuff, but I don't remember seeing any police officers in the audience or surrounding.
All right, very good. Eva, I know you got to get back to work. You are on the ground there. I can only imagine what's going through your head, your heart rate at this moment, but please be safe. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. All right, great conversation there as always, as we were just speaking with a reporter from the Deseret News, Eva Terry, on the ground as well, with other reporters on hand for this, including her colleague Emma Pitts there on campus. So let's just continue following. We see this security there as well. Plenty of SWAT teams now arriving at it. And I do want to put up just more social media reaction, including coming in from the wife of Charlie Kirk here on social media. This courtesy of Fox News, as Erica Kirk reciting a part of the Bible, line there saying, Psalm 46:1, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. So as you can only imagine what's going through their mind at this time, posting this here on social media. So we're following it very closely. We're also hearing, like we said, different reports coming in about whether or not a shooter is in custody right now. But the latest check from UVU, they're saying the campus is closed. Classes canceled. Those on campus secure in a place until police officers can escort you safely off campus. We've seen some students there with their hands on their heads, leaving it here right now on Live Now from Fox. And let's take you right now out to some more sound from eyewitnesses of what they saw and heard today.
Before, and I never want to experience ever again. You know, it's just terrible.
May I get your name, sir?
It's Luke Kimmel.
Luke.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Luke,
Yes,
very
sir.
much. So we've heard more here just now from the members of the UVU base.
All right, you're just listening in there to different members of that community in Orem, Utah. And if you're familiar with the location, it is just down the road, a few short blocks away there from BYU. So obviously a very dense populated area with young people coming out to this event. Again, just live pictures right now. You can see some students potentially that were on lockdown, arm in arm, leaving this right now. UVU saying the suspect is not in custody after Charlie Kirk was shot. We saw SWAT teams on hand for all of this, different angles right now. You can see there police getting out the back of their car, trying to bandage it. Plenty of force on hand for this. And you can imagine they're going all out in terms of resources to try to apprehend this individual. And as we heard there from Deseret News on the ground for it, saying there was no metal detectors. There wasn't really any security present for this event. That will likely change in the future for different politically political commentators coming to different campuses. So obviously, just following that very closely. I do want to take you out to some more witness sound that we heard from just mere moments ago here, just to give you a sense of the scene. Again, very dynamic and fluid at this point. But let's listen into this here on Live Now from Fox and what they have to say of what's going on there on campus, of what they heard, what they saw. Of course, still very uncertain in some of the kind of outcome of all of this. Right now, reporting AP is that he's in critical condition. Let's listen into some of this here on Live Now from Fox.
What happened?
Well, I can tell you that us standing in the question line, there were a bunch of different people with a bunch of different people. Sure. Who were all talking to each other. I was helping a person of a different viewpoint actually role play to ask Charlie Kirk a question. And we were all laughing, joking, sharing, asking each other, what's your question? What's your question? And all the shooter did today is take the ability for us to come together and share different discussions, and they completely took that away from us. And anybody that has any idea of doing something like this in the future, that is all you're doing is taking away our ability as Americans. Myself as a veteran, I love situations like this where different people can come together with different viewpoints, and all you did was strip that ability for us to talk and have discourse and share ideas with each other. You stripped that away from us and just drove us further apart.
What did you see when you were in line and the shooting happened? Kind of describe that.
We were all watching Charlie. The first question was a question about LDS, which, of course, you know, typical Utah, right? Of course. Sure. Oddly enough, the very second question that was asked when it happened had to do with transgender shooters, right? And I'm not saying that the shooter was transgender. I have no idea, and I don't think it's right for anybody to speculate as to whether or not that shooter was transgender. But conveniently enough, the very question that was being answered while Charlie got shot was a question about shooters and transgender. And the fact of the matter is that the shooter has issues. It's not whether or not they're transgender. It's not whether or not they're white, black, yellow, orange, green, like guys, like girls. What matters is the fact that this person has issues, that they feel murder is the way to resolve those issues.
Listening in there, talking about the exact question, talking about shooters and active shooter situations. That was a question to Charlie Kirk there on the campus at UVU as that single shot rang out, striking the conservative commentator in the neck. And we are still monitoring what condition he is in right now. Critical last check, and at last check also a Suspect has not been apprehended by authorities. As we're following all of it here on Live Now from Fox, and different lawmakers responding. This is a live picture right now there in Washington, D.C. We could get some comments from Speaker Mike Johnson here in just a little bit. We'll keep an eye on that. Until then, let's bring in right now Deseret News reporter on Capitol Hill, Cami Mondo. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. We just spoke with your colleague on the ground in Orem, Utah. What's the scene? What's the feeling right now in Washington, D.C.? I understand there was a moment of silence, a prayer on the House floor. What can you tell us?
Right. Ever since this happened and the news broke, this has been one of those moments where I think I've seen the most people react so quickly. You're seeing reactions from both Republicans and Democrats just decrying and condemning this incident all around the place. You're seeing Republicans who are urging prayer for Charlie Kirk. His condition is not known, and House Speaker Johnson, like you just said, just held a moment of silence and prayer on the House floor. Everybody across the room, Republicans and Democrats, including reporters and even just guests, took a moment and stood up for this moment. But as of right now, the details are not really known, but it's clear that this is a very somber moment.
Yeah, obviously very somber moment. We potentially could hear Speaker Mike Johnson there at the microphone provide an update. Can you talk to us about how close some of these lawmakers are to Charlie Kirk, his influence on them or the other way around? How important, how much is Charlie Kirk moving the movement in the GOP party?
Absolutely. Charlie Kirk is one of those, household names that you don't really see in this kind of conservative media landscape, but he is very close friends with a lot of lawmakers. Senator Mike Lee from Utah, just spoke with him over the weekend, actually, was on a guest on his podcast. You see a lot of Republicans who speak with him, whether it's on his podcast or they do events with him. And so there is like a sense of sadness, obviously, from these Republicans, but even some of them are a little bit angry, it seems, that, this political violence that's affecting, one of their friends. And so I've seen a lot of staffers who have also been really upset about the news. And so it's really just touching pretty much everybody on Capitol Hill right now.
Yeah, and we talk about that quite a bit, especially after the 2 attempted assassinations of then candidate Donald Trump. The temperature continues to be raised in that way, and not necessarily a good one. Is that the sentiment from lawmakers about that concern over political tension and political violence?
Absolutely. The comments that we got from Speaker Johnson just briefly going into the House chamber is that, he was kind of lamenting that this scene of political violence that, as you've said, has become all too common. It's something that he says this country just shouldn't be known for. This isn't who we are, and that we really need to find a turning point where this no longer is the case and something that, we're no longer just accustomed to. And so that's definitely something that I'm sure will even be part of the conversations moving forward. Everyone is just really upset. I'm sure you'll see a lot more as this news kind of settles in and we know how Charlie Kirk is doing.
Yeah, that is so very true. I want to continue to get your reaction because we're hearing from President Trump on Truth Social saying that we must pray for Charlie Kirk, who has been shot. A great guy from top to bottom. God bless him. We're also hearing from the New York Post reporting that they spoke with Trump asking about Charlie Kirk. He says he's not doing well. It doesn't look very good. Trump is feeling how close is President Trump to Charlie Kirk?
President Trump and Charlie Kirk do have that really interesting relationship where they are very close. Charlie Kirk is one of those people where he was very close to him, especially on the campaign trail. It was something that was very, not only strategic, but, they genuinely like each other. And it's someone that Trump will speak highly of, just in general Truth Social posts or just off comments. And so this is something where Charlie Kirk is not just a conservative media figure. He is someone who is in these circles. He's very close within these Republican officials. And he's become someone that they know personally. He goes to their events. And so it's something where it's not just, a famous person who gets attacked. It's someone that they know very closely and personally.
Did he speak at the RNC? I can't quite remember. Has he been at other prominent GOP functions prior?
I'm sure he has. The RNC feels so long ago, even though it was just a year ago. But he does go to those kinds of events often. And, this event that he was at today was part of a national college tour. This was only his first stop, but there were going to be at least 14 colleges across the United States. Even more were going to be added. So he is someone that is very prominent, someone who shows up to rallies alongside candidates. And so he is someone who has become a big face of the Republican Party.
That is so very true. And what comes next? Are you going to try to speak to other lawmakers? Is that the hope for you?
Yeah, so I think for now, you're going to want to obviously get the reactions from lawmakers. But as the news settles, I think the next question is kind of what do we do about this? How do we stop this from happening? Again, it is something that just becomes all too common, whether it's the 2 assassination attempts against President Trump.
Cami, I got to cut you off real quickly because we are getting new reporting in right now from the president about Charlie Kirk, as this was actually a fatal shooting coming down right now on Truth Social from the president of the United States, saying the great, even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, family. Charlie, we love you. So obviously an unfortunate finality to this as the shooting transpiring at Utah Valley University. And I just want to put up just some of these scenes one more time of the suspect still very much at large, that according to the university right now. But President Trump saying on social media that Charlie Kirk, the conservative commentator, is dead. An unfortunate moment here in time as we were talking about the political violence that continues to be heightened. Cami, I'm going to get your initial reaction because we are just following this dynamic situation. It was unfortunate. The video's making the rounds on social media and President Trump saying Charlie Kirk is dead. What are you thinking right now?
First initial words, just absolute shock that this happened. This happened so quickly. It was something that was so unexpected, and at an event where, my colleagues had said that there are so many people excited to speak with Charlie Kirk, excited to have the opportunity to hear from him. And so I think that this is just mostly so shocking that this happened, especially, in a red state like Utah. Sometimes, not to politicize anything, but of course politics sometimes makes a headway in it. But I think just shocking is the word to use.
All right, very good. I know you got to get back to work. Cami, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox as this is an unfortunate tragedy unfolding in Orem, Utah. Thanks again. All right, thank you so much. All right, very great conversation there about this as we are just continuing to learn the latest right now. Fox News posting this as well on social media, talking about the Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk has died at the age of 31 after being shot at a college event in Utah. President Trump confirming that information. He leaves behind his wife and 2 children. So the unfortunate news that so many people hoping wouldn't come down today, the reality is now setting in, and we're hearing different reaction. Lawmakers that were very close with Charlie Kirk being in some of those circles. We heard Cami mentioned that there was a moment of prayer, a moment of silence on hand at the House of Representatives in that chamber of Congress to pray for him, to think about him in this moment. And now the news coming down. Again, just a live picture right there on the campus at the Utah Valley University. So following it very closely, the Utah Valley saying that the suspect is still very much at large. And as we're just getting some of these pictures right now, let's continue with the conversation about what happened today. I want to be joined right now by the founder of the Wounded Blue, Randy Sutton. Randy, can you hear me here on Live Now from Fox? You're live on our air. Kind of take your initial reactions of what all happened today.
My initial reaction is that this is another tragic set of circumstances. Charlie Kirk was a hero to many. His intelligence, his ability to converse, his strong voice, conservative voice, has literally paved the way for a greater understanding of conservative issues. He's a true hero. And the fact that he was literally assassinated today is incredibly tragic. We have seen death now in so many ways, so publicly, that it's almost shocking that to witness a murder on video, it doesn't even shock the conscience anymore. It's truly amazing that we can witness the most
All right, Randy, I got to cut you off real quick. Stay with us, Randy. I have to cut you off because we're seeing Mike Johnson right now step to the microphone. I'm going to get your reaction in just a little bit, but I want to take us out here. So this is just a swearing in. So obviously this is unfolding. Potentially we could get some questions immediately in the aftermath of it, but right now just a swearing in. Let's listen in to see if we have any comments, though.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Congratulations.
How old's Mateo? Like,
He'll be 5 at the end of this month. Yeah.
That's great. His first child?
Yes. Yeah. He's a wild guy.
That's great. You can have a long career here and a short drive home.
That's right. Yeah. I hope to. Yeah.
Glad you're here. We'll try to get everybody under control here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doesn't look like he's going to
Thank you, guys.
Any questions right now. That was just a swearing in of the new member there of Congress. And obviously, he may not even gotten the news as of yet that President Trump saying Charlie Kirk no longer with us, passing away after this fatal shooting at this event there on that college campus in Utah. Again, this is just a live picture right now. Randy, I hope you're still with us. But as we kind of shift back gears to us, this is a very much an active scene, potentially a shooter on the loose, a manhunt right now. What is going through law enforcement's mind? What are they doing?
So this is an exceedingly difficult situation for law enforcement. You have a large number of people in a relatively small area. You have a shooter who it appears, now remember, all the information that we've gotten so far is really conjecture. I mean, first we heard there was a suspect in custody, then we heard he's not in custody. Now it appears that there was a rifle shot. I'm gonna say it's probably a long gun because of the distance that apparently was involved here. So if in fact there's a rifle involved, and where Charlie Kirk was hit is a vital organ. It was a kill shot with one shot. That shows a skill level, and that skill level is something that's going to be examined here by investigators. They have to lock down the entire campus. There's thousands of people there. Did this individual already make the escape and get out of that area? Where they have to locate where the shot came from to find that trajectory. This is a massive investigation.
Yeah, and
this clearly is a planned assassination.
And of course, we're still learning, and obviously the investigation continues. The motive uncertain right now, unconfirmed at this point. We were speaking with different reporters there on the ground, including with Deseret News, saying they had tickets to this event, but no security, no real metal detectors. So it's hard to kind of understand who exactly attended. Does that complicate things in your eyes? The fact that they really don't have a list of people who were in attendance, or they didn't go through metal detectors at all?
What will complicate the investigation is the mass amount of people that are there. Now, I think that at most of the events that Charlie Kirk has done, most of them that I have seen have been outdoor events where I don't think they have kept records of people that go there. There would be, sometimes there are ticket sales, but it doesn't mean that they would be keeping records of individuals who were there. Now, if this shooting took place from a building, if the sniper was ensconced in an office or a dormitory, this is key information. Where did the shooter post when before the shooting? How long was he there? There's so many unanswered questions here that this investigation, they're going to have to go through all of the video that was taken at this. There'll be hundreds of videos that were taken by cell phone cameras, which may possess a clue as to who the shooter is, where he was. But this all takes time to unravel. So this is a major investigation that's going to be very, very complicated.
Yeah, and they're still searching for him at this point. I do want to put up a post on social media from the governor there in Utah. This coming in from Governor Cox saying, I just got off the phone with President Trump, working with the FBI, Utah law enforcement. We will bring justice to the individual responsible for this tragedy. Abby and I are heartbroken. We are praying for Charlie's wife, daughter, and son. And since this is obviously a conservative commentator, a political commentator, does the FBI take the lead? Is the federal in charge? Who's in charge on the ground right now in Utah, Randy?
It would be the local police agency that covers that area, probably Salt Lake Police Department. They would have the jurisdiction here. Right now, this would be considered a state crime. Doesn't mean that, you know, we have seen that the federal government is very much willing to step in at appropriate times in order to take over prosecutions. But right now, this scene will be covered by the local police.
How wide is this net that law enforcement is cast trying to find this individual? Because it was a very cramped area, potentially, as we were talking about it, just some of the social media video coming down about where this shot may or may not have come to. How wide is the net? Are they concerned that they're still on campus? They fled? What's the perspective on that, Randy?
Yeah, and that's the crux of the situation is how do you contain the suspect? You know, and this is, you know, from the moment that the shot rang out, that's when law enforcement response, you know, becomes immediate. But what was the personnel, situation there? How many police officers were in attendance? Did they have private security there? Were they able to contain the scene effectively? These are situations where, if the individual was in a building somewhere, once that shot is fired, it in just minutes he could be elsewhere. He could be in a car. He could be off campus, and that, of course, will complicate this investigation even further.
Yeah, and that is obviously, it's very difficult, and the chaos, the scene immediately after, hundreds, thousands of people on hand for this there on campus. And you mentioned just the amount of social media, the amount of video on hand. For schools that obviously get state funding, potentially get federal funding as well, is there any regulation in your eyes that you can kind of point to that has some of these cameras? Maybe not metal detectors going into some of these places, but are schools at all required to have video camera? Is that something they're going to be leaning on right away?
Well, they will absolutely be looking at any security footage that would be from cameras that are on campus. There are no requirements that I'm aware of from a federal level that says, if you're an institution of higher learning, you have to have, so many surveillance cameras. I don't believe that exists. But we all know that, cameras are everywhere at this time, and campuses, of course, have had, issues of violence in the past. So the question is, on the campus of this, remember, this isn't a big university. This is a local college. What are their security arrangements, and what are the surveillance camera setups of that college? These are all part of the jurisdictional questions that have to be asked and examined very, very quickly.
And I want to ask you, because the suspect's still very much at large right now, a large manhunt right now underway, as, of course, we are kind of trying to follow it. The very latest is still that the suspect is at large. And potentially, if they do apprehend an individual, how do they tie them to this scene? If they don't have a gun, or if they aren't necessarily very distinguishable on camera, how do they tie an individual to a crime that was committed?
Through old-fashioned police work. That's how they're going to do it. There will be, a massive amount of forensic investigation that takes place as well. The location, where they do determine where the shooter was located, there will be, that area will be examined by forensics. Will the weapon have been left there because the individual didn't want to be seen carrying it? That'll be crucial to identifying the individual. Will there have been any fingerprints? Will there be any DNA left at the scene? These are all questions that are part of the investigation. Now, while this is still fresh, this is the meat and bones of police investigations. This is what law enforcement does.
Yeah,
and so the investigators, if they have every resource available to them now, both state, local, and federal.
All right, very good. Randy, thank you so much for breaking it down. I appreciate your time, your flexibility. Randy Sutton, founder of the Wounded Blue. Obviously, the training is out there. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time here on Live Now.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you so much. All right, let's continue on as we're just kind of taking in that scene there of that Orem, Utah tragedy unfolded. Charlie Kirk, the conservative commentator, fatally shot here as he was speaking at an event, coincidentally speaking about active shooters, transgender shooters there on that campus at UVU. We're hearing different lawmakers, including Ron DeSantis, saying, "Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. Casey and I are praying for his family. Charlie was a warrior for liberty, and his murder is a tragedy for our nation." Also, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, saying, "Heartbroken, outraged by the assassination of Charlie Kirk. He was an incredible husband and father, a great American. May he rest in eternal peace with our Lord." Let's take you right now out to different witnesses there on the ground, on the scene, still taking it all in. Let's listen into what they saw, what they heard today.
That was one thing that we all just instinctively did, and then we started running. But in my head, I was looking right at Charlie, and you could just see his neck just bleeding, and so we didn't know, and we just ran and got out of there. But it was a blessing to get out safe, and yeah.
Just how was it like when everything happened? I know you said that your sister was a little bit away from you. Was it scary not knowing what had happened?
Yeah, no, after I was like, I'm okay, I instantly went to my sister. I'm like, where's my sister? Started screaming for my sister, and we ran inside, and we were running up and down the halls, and it was just like, what is going on? Why isn't everyone running? Why are we getting out of here? But I had found my sister, and I just knew if I made sure she was safe, that everything would be okay. So that was probably my one thought that was driving me then, but yeah.
What's like, you still have the adrenaline still pumping? Like, have you been able to digest everything, or are you still just kind of, this is so surreal?
Yeah, no, it's a little surreal. Like, especially then, it felt like a dream. I'm like, this isn't real. And, but I've been called by multiple friends, family, so I've been able to talk about it and just kind of process it, and just a lot of support right away, and seeing all the other students around campus praying with each other, just crying with each other, because it's gonna last for a minute, but yeah.
So you heard one shot, you said you might have seen some gun smoke, and just you saw him get hit. Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, for sure. So you hear the pop, and I just saw the blood gushing, and in my head I saw some smoke right there, and it wasn't very loud.
Just listening in there, eyewitnesses describing what they saw, what they heard on campus. And let's quickly shift gears as we entered a new hour, 5 o'clock on the East Coast. Of course, 3 o'clock there in Orem, Utah. We're joined right now by Fox News' Connor Hansen. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. What's the latest? What can you tell us?
Well, Andy, unfortunately, just in the past few minutes, President Trump actually took to social media to announce that Charlie Kirk has passed away from that gunshot wound, also posting a bit of a tribute along with it. There's also been some confusion. The university initially saying the shooter had been in custody. Now we're not so sure that's the case.
I heard a loud bang.
After hearing a gunshot in the middle of campus, a crowd started running for safety. Witnesses described seeing the speaker, Charlie Kirk, being struck in the neck area and falling from his chair.
I just saw it hit him in the chest, and then all of a sudden just tons of blood gushing right out where his heart is. And then he fell over and slumped down, and everybody got down and was screaming.
A spokesperson from Utah Valley University says the shot was fired from a building about 200 yards away and that the campus closed for the rest of the day. Former Utah Congressman Jason Chaffitz was at the event and witnessed the shooting.
As soon as that shot went out, he fell back into his left, and everybody hit the deck.
Charlie Kirk became a highly influential conservative activist and influencer after starting Turning Point USA. The group has a presence at thousands of universities and high schools and regularly holds campus events. Kirk is credited for helping President Trump win over young voters and win back the White House. Support for Kirk after the shooting has been bipartisan.
I mean, it's just another horrible act of political violence that has no place in our country.
and the White House Situation Room had been monitoring this since that shot was fired. And I'll just read you a piece of what President Trump had to say, calling Charlie Kirk legendary. He said, quote, "No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania, and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you." Back to you, Andy.
All right, thank you so much. A dark day there in Utah, and so many of this political circles there, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. Connor Hansen, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, great reporting there as always. President Trump making that announcement that the conservative commentator Charlie Kirk fatally shot on the campus, as we heard the chaotic scene, showing some of those images there. So many different people, media on hand for this. We do have just this couple live pictures as well, as President Trump confirming this. Charlie Kirk dead, has died after the shooting. The suspect still very much at large. That is the most recent details that we can provide. We do have plenty of law enforcement. We did see SWAT vehicles on hand, a lockdown still in place. There are plenty of reporters there. Traffic moving around the campus, but you can see just the amount of force, the amount of people there on campus. You can see their state, like we heard from Randy Sutton, likely taking the lead on this at this point, but walking around. So we'll keep an eye on all of these, but different reaction from lawmakers. Charlie Kirk was a prominent face, a prominent voice within those conservative circles, and was so influential in moving that youth vote to the polls to potentially get President Trump into the White House. And different comments, including from Representative Nancy Mace, saying our hearts are break for the Kirk family, Turning Point USA, and all who had the privilege of knowing Charlie personally. He was a beacon of true leadership, rooted deeply in his faith as a Christian, his principles as a conservative, and his integrity as a man. Charlie was one of the brightest lights of our time, whose sole mission was to share the Word of God and to promote peace. Tragically, he was senselessly taken from us in cold blood. So that coming in from lawmaker Nancy Mace on social media. We've heard from Ron DeSantis. We've heard from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. So plenty of outpouring of love, prayers, thoughts for the family there on the Republican side. And we are monitoring all the latest. John Fetterman, the Democrat, saying our family grieves for Charlie Kirk's family. We must collectively find a way forward during these polarized times. And as I spoke with Cami Mondo about that, the political violence, the temperature that needs to be lowered, obviously concern for that after two assassination attempts on then candidate Donald Trump. And coincidentally, also, they are going to seat a jury in that second assassination attempt case for Ryan Ruth in Fort Pierce, Florida. That likely coming today, opening statements tomorrow. So obviously all of this transpiring very quickly. So just taking you back out, live pictures here on Live Now from Fox or Utah, different locations, different live shots for reporters there on the ground. Again, just another live picture as still at large right now, a manhunt, a massive one for the suspect following the shooting. They are saying just a single shot rang out on the campus as he was answering a question. Let's take you back out, though, to different lawmakers, or excuse me, different witnesses watching unfold what happened, including one of those people from Connor Hansen's story. Let's listen into this here on Live Now.
And decided to go watch Charlie Kirk between my classes, so.
My name's Paris. I just wanted to come and watch what I thought would be a civil conversation, and it turned completely different.
What did you see?
I looked down when it happened, but...
So basically, I heard a loud bang, which I figured a shot would be a little bit louder, but I just saw it hit him in the chest, and then all of a sudden just tons of blood gushing right out where his heart is, and then he like fell over and slumped down, and everybody got down and was screaming, and then we all ran.
Can you describe just, did he appear to be moving afterward, or what?
Not at all. I personally believe he was dead on impact.
Oh my goodness. What happened after that? What did you see?
Everyone got down. Everyone was so scared, and I just grabbed her, and my boss was with us, which is her mom. She was like, run, and we finally got up and followed the crowd, and I just kept holding her. I don't even have my shoes on. I left my keys, and everyone's just like scared. Like it's traumatizing. Like, you know, it scares. Like, I don't even want to go to school tomorrow, you know.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that statement.
Yeah, I'm scared to go to school, but.
You heard the one shot. Were there multiple shots or?
I think just one shot straight into Charlie Kirk, and that was it. And I think they got him.
And did you see the person who fired the shot or anything like that?
No, I just knew that it came to the right of me and went just directly into his heart.
So. I did. I got a picture of him.
Did you? What did you see as far as? I mean, was the crowd? How was the crowd reacting to him? I mean, he is somewhat known for being provocative, but what was going on beforehand? What was he talking about?
So the first student got up and they were talking about religion, Mormonism, and Christianity, and the second student to get up was talking about transgenderism and how gun violence has been very frequent with that community, and that is when it happened. Pretty ironic.
Right after, during, right on that topic.
Yeah, it's when he got shot in the heart.
Yeah.
What did you all see? You're joining us. What did you see?
Well, I was about to enter the building. I heard what I thought was a gunshot, and I hurried and took cover. And then I saw the students running out, and I saw her. She was panicking. I thought she was having a panic attack. So then I grabbed her, and we ran through the tunnel, and then just brought her to my car over here to get her to calm down. So, yeah.
You?
I was watching from pretty close up, and I heard a pop, and I thought, no, that nobody's shooting firecrackers, right? This is the middle of the day. And then I watched a fountain of blood come out of the side of his neck like a water fountain. And it was surreal. Everyone dropped, and I was like, where's the gunman? I don't see any gunman. And then I dropped, because I'm just a very logical thinker like that. And so, yeah, and then a friend of mine drove me over here, just barely dropped me off, but he got a picture of the gunman, and it's pretty embarrassing. He got his pants pulled down as they took him down, and he sent me a picture. He was wearing garment bottoms, or what looked like white knee shorts. Just, you know, Utah.
Obviously a volatile situation, and what was the crowd's reaction when all of this happened? You said you were up, you were standing there, you know, a little frozen, it sounds like. What was the crowd's reaction?
Everyone freaked out and screamed, and then after everyone was leaving, there was just a lot of confusion until the cops started making everyone leave, because people were still standing around and talking and in clusters, but the majority had run. And so, you know, after that, the police forced everyone in, and they started roping off the courtyard in yellow police tape. And then as we were walking through the hall, policemen with the campus was being shut down.
What did y'all see with the police? Was there a police presence there from the beginning? You know, how did it unfold?
Yeah, so there definitely was a police presence there. I saw some on top of the balcony above, and some below. And of course, you have Kirk's own kind of bodyguards around. But I will definitely say we saw a lot more after the shooting, of course.
Of course. You said you may have seen something?
Well, I'm just saying Charlie Kirk is a hero. All right?
He is. Absolutely. Pray
He's
for
absolutely
him.
a hero.
We don't know if he's still alive.
Everybody in there was very concerned for him. And all I could think of was go towards Charlie, because I just want to know if he was okay. You know, a lot of people like him. He's a very courageous man.
What did you see? Can you just recap what you saw?
Yeah, I saw him just go over to the side. So everybody then dispersed and ran into the buildings or all over. But so I went toward Charlie, and then pretty soon they got somebody. The police arrested someone. They were dragging him all the way down. Older man, white hair, blue shirt, you know, so.
All right, just listening in there, and of course, some of those images coming on social media, but according to the university, suspect is still at large at this hour after this all unfolded several hours ago. So Obviously, a lockdown still in place. Classes have been canceled. We are monitoring just this scene right now there on campus in Orem, Utah, just down the road from Salt Lake City, from the capital in Utah. And we're hearing plenty of reaction right now, including from the president, who really broke the news that Charlie Kirk had died. And he also says, in honor of Charlie Kirk, a truly great American patriot, I am ordering all American flags throughout the United States lowered to half-mast until Sunday evening at 6 p.m. So you'll see the red, white, and blue there just at half-mast for the next several days to honor Charlie Kirk after this fatal shooting there. Also, Joe Biden, the former president, saying there is no place in our country for this kind of violence. It must end now. Jill and I are praying for Charlie Kirk's family and loved ones. Also, from the vice president and others talking about this, including Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, saying, rest in peace to my friend Charlie Kirk. My heart is with his loved ones at this devastating time. This inexcusable violence belongs nowhere in a civilized society. Charlie was a brave man, a devoted husband, a loving father, and a great patriot. Please join me in praying for his family and our country. From Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, saying, Jeanette and I are devastated. Charlie Kirk's commitment to America's future generations and sense of patriotism will resonate for decades to come. May the Lord bless Charlie and his family. And J.D. Vance, the vice president, saying, eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord, speaking about Charlie Kirk there, the fatal shooting. I believe we also have a post from Charlie Kirk's wife, obviously leaving behind a wife and 2 children, also reciting scripture here after this fatal shooting that happened there on the campus, speaking to students, speaking to hundreds of people in their teens, in their 20s, and even potentially some parents, some members of the community there on the ground in that location. And coincidentally, he was also speaking about gun violence, speaking about recent shootings. So we're seeing this here on Live Now from Fox, as I believe soon enough, some of these flags will be lowered to half-mast. I believe this one's at the top of the White House right now as they're zooming in, so it will take place for the next several days. And we're also getting different sound in right now. Witnesses on the ground speaking about what they heard. Let's listen in.
Inside the glass walls next in the food court, and everybody just started running in and screaming. The girls were crying. It was just insane. People were saying there was a shooter. Me and my friend, we were just like, holy cow, what is going on? We just ran out the back doors and just went back to school. And then everything got locked down. They're not letting kids leave right now. It's just crazy.
Now, when did you hear about Charlie Kirk coming to campus, and why did you want to see him?
My friend Derek, he actually sent me a reel on Instagram about Charlie Kirk coming about a week ago. And then my cousin recently was telling me about how he can get extra credit if you go and see Charlie Kirk at this event. And
that was from a local high school, correct?
Yeah, and it was from Skyridge, I know, was getting extra credit. And so I knew a bunch of like high and it was also Wolverine Wednesday, so there was pizza. It was just so many, it was just crazy.
Where were you? You heard the shot, is that correct? Where were you when you heard the shot?
I was inside UVU still. I was walking out the glass doors. Okay,
and when you walked out, you mentioned just people, I guess, in panic, screaming and running in all directions?
Yeah, it was just insane.
Okay. How are you processing what you saw? I mean, you've been walking around kind of milling about. There's a lot of students that are walking around milling about, but it's been a few hours now. I mean, how are you kind of recounting the day's events here and processing all of that internally?
I'm still shaken. It's hard to process because I'm just sitting in class and they're like, oh my gosh, he's announced dead. He's died. And it's just insane. And then we're looking at these videos because there's videos of him being shot. It's just, I feel like I'm still in shock right now. It's just insane.
What did you want to hear from Charlie? You were excited to hear him speak, right?
I don't know a lot about Charlie, but I was just interested in what other people were going to say to Charlie and what was going to happen. And something happened, which is just insane.
Anything else you want to share with us today? Thanks for a few minutes and glad you're okay.
I don't know. I just feel like it was something that totally could have been stopped. They would have maybe checked bags or done something to protect him. And because they had cops above on the walkways. They had cops above on the walkways who were stopping what I assume people from throwing stuff down towards him. So I wonder why there wasn't any level of security taken to stop people around, like in front of him or anything like that.
So you didn't see any true security measures other than maybe from afar, is that correct?
Yeah. as it was just, there was not a lot of cops there. I've seen more cops at UVU during sporting events than right now, which is, and this is the most amount of kids I've ever seen at UVU. Just insane.
Thanks for coming over and talking. I'm glad you're okay, and thanks for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And I hope, obviously...
All right, just listening in there, a witness describing the scene and also describing the lack of security that was there on hand. He spoke to the Deseret News, saying they had tickets for this event. They were attending it, but no one even took their tickets. No one scanned their tickets, and they also said there were no metal detectors and no real security on hand. So it's very interesting to look into that, as, of course, following it right here on Live Now from Fox, a manhunt, a massive one, is underway right now there in Orem, Utah. Live picture one more time, as we haven't really heard from authorities, not in a press conference setting, not in a way that we can provide to you in full, live, raw, and unfiltered. But obviously this is the scene just outside of this campus as traffic is moving along, as obviously very difficult for this entire community, the conservative group, the political sphere that is Charlie Kirk in it. So obviously President Trump confirming that he has died. I also want to put up a post from the Washington Examiner. As the manhunt continues, they look for the suspect. Mia Cathell saying, according to a live feed of the Utah County police scanner, at the time of the Charlie Kirk shooting, an individual was spotted with a long rifle, wearing jeans, a black shirt, a black mask, and a black vest on top of the building on the far north side, just east of the library, wearing jeans, black shirt, black vest, and a speaker, said on this police scanner. And of course, Salt Lake City police also on hand for this, just down the road, taking the highway there to this scene. So a manhunt underway for this, of what's going on, as potentially we will see also the flags be lowered to half-mast to honor Charlie Kirk. That was an order from the President of the United States, as he announced that they will be that way until Sunday at 6 o'clock. So we're just following it very closely, and it is gone quiet right now, but obviously investigations, the search for that individual is still very much present, taking place. So just monitoring this here very closely. Different reaction continues to filter in. Nikki Haley saying, we pray for Charlie that he may rest in God's arms. May God comfort his sweet family. May God heal our country. We need his grace now more than ever. So, of course, that was a presidential candidate herself going up against President Trump, putting up a valiant fight. So she's in the GOP circles there, as well as Charlie Kirk. Again, a live picture in Orem, Utah, one more time. And just to reset here, if you're just joining us on Live Now from Fox, a very dynamic situation as the Charlie Kirk, the conservative activist and close ally to President Trump, was shot and killed on Wednesday at that college in Utah at an event that acted to draw renewed attention to the threat of political violence across the country. Just monitoring this shot one more time here on Live Now from Fox. The death was announced on social media by President Trump, who praised the 31-year-old Kirk, the co-founder and CEO of the youth organization Turning Point USA, as, quote, great and even legendary, saying no one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. The suspected shooter has not been arrested, the mayor said. A person who was taken into custody by law enforcement at the university where Kirk was speaking was not the suspect. Videos posted on social media from the Utah Valley University show Kirk speaking into a handheld microphone while sitting under a white tent emblazoned with slogans like "The American Comeback" and "Prove Me Wrong." A single shot rang out, and Kirk can be seen reaching up with his right hand as a large volume of blood gushes from his neck. Of course, some spectators heard gasping, fled the scene. So, of course, public relations for Turning Point USA saying, confirming he was shot, praying for Charlie. So still very dynamic, a fluid situation, but everyday life going on this street just outside. So it's just hard. The distance between this and what was going on is hundreds of people, almost 1,000 or more in attendance for this event. And I do believe we are seeing now as people potentially getting on top of the White House to lower these flags to half-mast to honor Charlie Kirk. So we're just going to stick with this shot here briefly, as not a ton of other information. We're still waiting on a press conference from law enforcement, waiting on an update of some kind from lawmakers there in Utah or beyond. We were hearing that Speaker Mike Johnson held a moment of silence, a moment of prayer to honor this. And of course, very fluid. So many people are close allies, close friends of Charlie Kirk in Washington, D.C. So the lowering of the United States flag now taking place atop the White House. All right, just listening in there. I just wanted to give that a little bit moment to breathe as a somber day here on this September the 10th, as the flags being lowered to half-mast there in our nation's capital by the order of the President of the United States. So still following this, and we're still trying to grasp, trying to understand what happened as police, the investigation continues for that suspect. Let's take you right now out to other witnesses of what they saw. And of course, this was students, different members of the community alike, coming to hear what he has to say as he has spoken, and it has resonated so much with the youth in the Republican Party and beyond. Let's take you out to some more witnesses there in Orem, Utah.
I'm guessing you were at the event as well?
Yes.
Where were you at in relation to the stage?
I was about ready to go in at the front doors when I heard the gunshot. So I tucked away under because I'm a retired police officer.
Okay.
So I was worried about the people being trampled, and then the students started rushing out. And that's when I grabbed two students. One was about ready to pass out. I took her. One of the guys carried him. We carried him and went through the tunnel. And then I recognized the guy that was arrested as George Zim. I went with Charlie Kirk's group on Turning Point USA last year. He rode in the front seat above, right ahead of me. So I recognized him as the one they arrested. I don't know if he's the shooter, but that is the one they arrested.
So you weren't actually in the event yet? You said you were at the doors
Right
or at the gate?
When I heard the gunshot, and then I tucked around the corner, and then that's when I saw the crowd racing out, and that's when I tried to rescue the two students that...
Could you tell where the gunshot came from?
Yeah, I just looked up. It sounded like it was a bug, but with gunshots it could echo.
Sure.
So I just remember looking up and going, that sounds like a gunshot. That's a gunshot. And then I saw all the kids running out, and then that's when I took cover, and then I saw the two students.
You said you're a former police officer?
Yes.
Who were you with?
Unified Police.
For how long?
20 years.
Were you in the field? What was your role there?
Yeah, I was 4.5 years in the jail, 4.5 years in court, 10 years on the road.
Wow.
As a canine officer, a detective, and a school resource officer. I also taught active shooter.
So you've done quite a bit. That's what you're telling me. Any of that, I would imagine, would that kick in today for you?
Yeah, I took cover, and then my first response is to protect the kids, the students, because I was worried about them being trampled.
Sure.
And so when the one girl was almost about to pass out, I thought she was going to get trampled, so I grabbed her, and then I grabbed the other one and put him into a place area underneath the tunnel over here to protect him from any more gunshots.
What's your thoughts on this?
I don't, I know George from several events I've been to. He always struck me as a little bit odd. I know he's been banned from church property and the Herberts and Governor Coggs. But he's a different guy. I'm not saying he's a shooter, but I recognize him as being the guy that was arrested. So, yeah.
So besides George, though, if George is not the shooter, your thoughts on it just in general, if just you're coming to this event to hear and something like this happens?
Well, based on my experience with shooters and all the way I was described where it hit his heart and then blasted out this way, it would seem that it would have been shot from below if it shot out this way and actually held the shot. So it would be pretty hard to get a direct shot to the heart. You'd have to be a pretty marksman to do that from that distance. So I'm not sure if George was that qualified or not, but it just seems like that was a pretty well shot. So.
I've been listening to our station. We've been on air with this since it happened. They're saying he's at the hospital in critical condition right now. That's the last that I've heard from this. when you look across and you see this massive police presence from units from all over, so many SWAT units showing up, is this normal for something like this, especially on a college campus?
Yeah, they're going to tape it all off. It's a huge crime scene. That's why when I wanted to preserve evidence, and so I immediately called the police. I said I have 2 witnesses. I tucked them into my car that were actually on the 4th row back. They literally saw it because it doesn't say it hit him in the neck. The girl I interviewed said it was a direct hit to the heart, and she saw it. So I called the police, let them know, got their names so that we have the witnesses, and kept them here until the police said we could go. And then right now, you've seen that's going to be a long, because you have so many people, 6,000 people here. So it's going to be a big crime scene.
Okay. Anything else? I appreciate your time.
No, I just want to say Charlie Kirk's a hero, and I'm praying for his family.
All right, just listening in there as people are kind of shocked by the news. Of course, that all coming down prior to the announcement, the confirmation from President Trump that Charlie Kirk has passed away, the conservative commentator fatally shot at this event, attended by hundreds of people there on that campus. As we're getting live pictures right now, the United States flag being flown at half-mast atop the White House. This will be happening until Sunday. Also live picture there in Utah. So we're just bouncing around to all of this. And also there in Phoenix, Arizona, the headquarters of Turning Point USA. So obviously the co-founder of that, Charlie Kirk there, and we see different people potentially going to speak about this and his influence in just different points, different parts of the political spectrum on the right side, the GOP, but also just his influence amongst other people. So let's take you right now. I want to see if we have any sound from someone there in Phoenix talking about his influence at Turning Point, what it meant for them. Let's listen in.
For a lot of reasons. I'm going to get emotional, so give me a second.
Okay, take your time. You brought flowers out here.
Yeah.
You want to talk about...
Because I have a young man who's in college right now, and I know how important Charlie Kirk was to this generation, and I just think it's important that we stop the violence, and some of us need to speak up and come out of the shadows right now, because some of us have been quiet for a long time. And Charlie was brave, and he spoke up for all of us who couldn't speak. I'm sorry, I'm just very emotional about it, because it just already passed. So, we just live in a very strange society right now, and I just think it's very important that those of us who have different views from most of you who are standing here right now understand that there are those of us who don't agree. And Charlie Kirk was one who would get up and speak for us, and he just had a very strong voice, and he was very calm in his response to people, and especially this generation where a lot of kids who have different views than the mainstream media has, and other people who don't agree have felt like they couldn't say anything. So he was able to speak for us, and especially for young men. And we just live in a society that does not support conservative views and the role of family and having children and doing things the way that we were brought up to believe things were supposed to be. And so I don't know what to say. As a parent, what do you think Erica and the rest of his family is? Well, I'm sure they're devastated right now. I can't imagine. They had, I'm sure they knew the risks that they were making every time he spoke, but they chose to do it when the rest of us don't do it. And so I'm just humbled by his family. I'm humbled by him and the way he chose to live his life. So,
what kind of an impact do you think he had, especially on young conservatives?
I think it made them feel more empowered because they could have a voice, where sometimes having that voice nowadays is not honored. And I mean, obviously you can tell that he was killed for it. So the fact that he spoke up when others don't feel like they can, so this is the way of silencing that voice, and it's just not right. It's not right. And I think what's going to happen now is there are going to be a lot of young men and young women who have these views that Charlie had that are probably going to start speaking up and start living a little more boldly. So I think, if anything, this is probably going to bring more young men who have been quiet, maybe, who didn't feel like they could speak, and even young women. They'll have the encouragement and the empowerment now to speak up, because I'm standing here in front of all these cameras with all these, and I would never do this normally to speak, but it's just so important to me as having a young man that our voices be heard now.
Can you say your name again?
Andrea Serrano.
How do you spell your last name?
Serrano.
Andrea, what made you want to come down here?
Just because of my son, to be honest with you, because of how he spoke up for our young men, and my son's in college, and these views, he believes in these views as well, and it gave him a voice to say, yeah, that what he was learning in high school and in some colleges right now is not the view that he had, and it just empowered those young men. And so my son, I'm just grateful for his life, for Charlie.
I mean, this happened on a college campus. Your son's in college.
Yeah, I worry about it, but we can't live in fear. We have to be able to get up like I am doing right now, and we have to be able to speak. We have to say what we believe, because what they want us to do is not say anything, and that's just not the way life is. We're here in America. We have free speech. We can say what we believe, and we shouldn't be afraid to say it. We should be able to have the strength and be able to, otherwise we're not going to have a free country. We're not going to be able to do anything, which is exactly what they want. So.
Your name again?
Andrea Serrano.
And spell it just...
Serrano.
Okay, thanks.
We really have it this time. Thank you.
Just listening in there as they're continuing to gather the sound outside of the Turning Point USA, the headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona. So you see kind of them zooming in on this scene as they talked about the empowerment that Charlie Kirk brought to so many people that potentially felt like just a number, just a statistic. So obviously a very dark day there in Utah and beyond. A live picture right now in Orem, Utah, as we're still watching a manhunt underway. A lockdown is in place there at the Utah Valley University following this unfortunate incident. So just a few live pictures, including in obviously Arizona Turning Point headquarters, in Washington, D.C. at the White House, as flags being flown now at half staff atop that building, that federal building, as you will see that soon be lowered in other locations, other regions, other communities. Talking about this, President Trump confirming the most recent. And obviously this goes beyond just the United States, as different world leaders, different dignitaries are speaking out about this political violence, including the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, on social media, commenting Charlie Kirk was murdered for speaking truth and defending freedom. A lion-hearted friend of Israel, he fought the lies and stood tall for Judeo-Christian civilization. I spoke with him only 2 weeks ago, invited him to Israel. Sadly, that visit will not take place. We lost an incredible human being. His boundless pride in America and his valiant belief in free speech will leave a lasting impact. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. Also coming in, Donald Trump. I love you, brother. You gave so many people the courage to speak up, and we will never be silenced. That coming in from Donald Trump Jr., quoting his father. Also, Speaker Mike Johnson saying, I'm utterly devastated. Charlie was a close friend and confidant. He will be sorely missed by so many. Every political leader must loudly and clearly decry the violence. Our prayers go out to his wife and young children. May he rest in peace. And we're also hearing from Speaker Mike Johnson just a little bit ago. Again, just part of this cabinet, Brooke Rollins, the Ag Secretary, saying the death of my sweetest friend and fellow warrior for Christ and for America, Charlie Kirk, is a profound tragedy. First and foremost, his lovely Erica, and their two beloved children that he left behind. They feel it more keenly than any of us can, and our first duty is to pray both for his soul and for their peace. And as I was mentioned, we heard from Speaker Mike Johnson. He held a moment of silence, a moment of prayer on the floor there at the House of Representatives. Let's take you out to this quick sound. This was prior to the initial confirmation, as they were just getting in those reports of the shooting that ultimately turned fatal. Let's listen in.
We just want to make a brief statement here, and I'm going to go and ask my colleagues to join me in a moment of silence for our dear friend Charlie Kirk. We ask everyone to pray for him and his family. I'm just going to state the obvious here. This is detestable, what's happened. Political violence has become all too common in American society, and this is not who we are. It violates the core principles of our country, our Judeo-Christian heritage, our civil society, our American way of life, and it must stop. We need every political figure, we need everyone who has a platform to say this loudly and clearly. We can settle disagreements and disputes in a civil manner, and political violence must be called out, and it has to stop. Again, we ask for prayer. I'm going to go lead the chamber here in a moment of silence, and we hope for the best for Charlie. Thank you.
All right, just listening in there, that was Speaker Mike Johnson holding that moment of silence, that moment of prayer, and that was before President Trump confirming the news that Charlie Kirk was fatally shot on the campus at Utah Valley University, speaking to different members of that community, to different students there as well. So, of course, we do have a couple pictures there in Washington, D.C. of the White House, as Charlie Kirk was a close ally of the president. As you can see this here on Live Now from Fox, as talking about this, honoring the memory of Charlie Kirk, a live picture right there in Washington, D.C. at the White House. Also, you can see the giant flags, the big American flags there just north and south of the White House as he orders them for half-staff, as he has also released a proclamation honoring the memory of Charlie Kirk, saying, as a mark of respect for the memory of Charlie Kirk by the authority vested in me as President of the United States by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, I hereby order that the flag of the United States will be flown at half-staff at the White House and upon all public buildings and grounds, at all military posts and naval stations, and on all naval vessels of the federal government in the District of Columbia and throughout the United States and its territories and possessions until sunset of September the 14th. I also directed the flag shall be flown at half-staff for the same length of time at all the United States embassies, consular offices, other facilities abroad, including all military facilities, naval vessels, and stations, in witness whereof I hereunto set my hand this 10th day of September in the year of the Lord, 2025, and of the independence of the United States of America. So obviously flags being flown at half-staff for Charlie Kirk. A live picture closer of that here very closely. And we're getting different images in from different locations there, as the suspect still very much at large at this point. So no new information, no press conferences as of yet on what's going on that campus in Orem, Utah, just down the road from the Capitol there in Salt Lake City. We are getting just this, a live picture one more time. As you can see, the fire department also on hand for this. The scene, police, they're going to see plenty of law enforcement from the federal, state, local, city, all providing support. And of course, Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, he obviously made his mark in so many locations, but the headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona, already the flags being flown and half-staff. Let's take you out to other members of the community speaking out.
She says, Mom, guess why I'm calling you right now? And I couldn't think of anything specific other than bad news, right? And that's when she said Charlie had been shot. So we followed that on social media for a bit until right now. And when she finally let me know what the final word was, I said, you know, I'm right down the street, so I'm going over there. And my head's in a place of anger right now for his loss. And my head's also in a place of the evil that it took to take his life, the hatred and evil, all in the name of I don't agree with you. That was all. Just I don't agree with you. And that's not a reason to take someone's life at all. There's a lot of people I don't agree with, but I'm not out there shooting them, you know. I'm not sabotaging their life in any way. But that's what this was about. It was about, I don't agree with you. I hate you to the point that I'm willing to kill you. That's what this was about.
You said that it was your daughter who told you about this. What did Charlie Kirk and his work mean to you and your family?
My oldest daughter is a veteran of the Navy. She was a doc at Camp Pendleton for 3 years. So to have conservative commentary that supported our military and believed in what we did in America as Americans means the world to her. And to have someone like Charlie to speak up, not just for veterans, but for unspoken Americans everywhere, as well as the privileged and the underprivileged. Because Charlie's message was all about faith and belief and patriotism, okay? And your First Amendment is your First Amendment, but you have to be sure of what you believe in, and you have to be willing and ready to share that at a moment's notice. Because people are going to question you on what you believe, and Charlie believed it, and he knew it, and he was always ready with a good answer, with the right answer that he knew. And when you love God, when you're safe, when you're Christian, you could be Catholic, Methodist, whatever it is, there's a belief in your faith, there's a belief in God, and you will answer for that to people who ask. But people didn't want to hear Charlie's views. They didn't want to hear what he had to say. There's all kinds of ugly on the internet right now about that, Lord knows. And he died for what he believed in. And the only thing I can say is they hated Jesus too. They killed him for it. But Jesus rose on the third day. Charlie, in a mortal body, is in heaven with God right now. So his mortal body won't come up out of the grave today. But I digress. My daughter and I are both, it's just time to go buy more guns and more ammo. That's all. Because if they want to bring a fight like this to the street, I can guarantee you there's enough of us Americans, veterans, whoever it is in the neighborhood that wants it to stay safe and a safe America. I will guarantee you that gun sales are going to skyrocket beginning today. By the end of the week, stores are going to be out of ammunition. They're going to be out of guns. It's crazy. That's what the conservative will do when somebody does this, because that was foolish and selfish, just like the person who killed the man in the turban after 9/11, a local gas station owner, a Sikh man, Mr. Singh. He was murdered by a neighbor down the street because he wore a turban at his own gas station. And Mr. Singh had owned that gas station for decades.
You know, you're being kind enough to, in your grief, taking the time to speak with me. What, I guess, message-wise, do you hope kind of share from that? Why was it important for you to say yes to speak?
Because you have to be a patriot today. You have to be a patriot today. Because if you're not a patriot today, willing to stand up and defend this country, this neighborhood, these families that you live with in your home and down the street, who's going to protect us unless we do it ourselves? We're the common militia. We're the military. We're the neighbors. We're those people that fought the revolution in 1776 when it became official, but we fought for years after that, okay? It's important because if we don't stand up and take this fight and fight it valiantly, we're going to die. We're going to be killed in the street, and anarchy's going to reign, and that's the bottom line, and that's what's happened in other countries.
I'm very sorry to have to hate under these circumstances, but I do appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you. What's your name?
Amalia.
Amalia, thank you.
It's nice to meet you.
Are you with Fox News?
You're just listening in here on Live Now from Fox to some speakers outside of Turning Point USA headquarters there in Phoenix, Arizona. So following it closely here on Live Now from Fox, speaking out about political violence in previous years as well, and her concern over that and the escalating nature of it. We do have a live podium right now just popping up here on Live Now from Fox, and I believe this is going to be the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, expected to speak at this microphone. You see all these media members setting up their microphones, the seal there at the bottom. I believe it should say Utah. I'm not exactly sure, but you see other people awaiting, getting a white balance. That's what they're doing. We're going to put that down because that might be that guy's driver's license. But let's also take you out to some most recent reaction, including the former President Barack Obama talking about this, saying, we don't know yet what motivated the person who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, but this kind of despicable violence has no place in our democracy. Michelle and I will be praying for Charlie's family tonight, especially his wife, Erica, and their 2 young children. So Obviously, that coming in from Barack Obama, the former president, here on Live Now from Fox, as we're hearing from different members of the cabinet, from President Trump himself, who confirmed the news. That was the initial report coming out. And Charlie Kirk, a former close ally now of the president and a conservative commentator, losing his life, speaking out. And we heard different reporting there from on the ground talking about this turning point, showcasing a statement right now saying it's with a heavy heart that we confirm James Charles Kirk has been murdered by a gunshot that took place during Turning Point USA's The American Comeback Tour campus event at Utah Valley University on September the 10th, 2025. May he be received into the merciful arms of our loving Savior who suffered and died for Christ, for Charlie. We ask that everyone keep his family and loved ones in your prayers. We ask that you please respect their privacy and dignity during this time. And this is a live picture at the headquarters of Turning Point USA in Phoenix, Arizona. And Charlie Kirk has been on campuses far and wide, potentially even in a location near you, wherever you're watching us here on Live Now. So we're awaiting a press conference from the governor of Utah talking about this, eventually providing an update on the suspect. That is the big question right now. Where is the suspect? Potentially what motivated this individual, because it was just a single shot that rang out, that what that crowd of hundreds heard unfold there on that campus at UVU in Orem, Utah. So we're expecting to hear an update from the governor. I believe we do have a post on social media from the governor as well, Spencer Cox, expressing his condolences to Charlie Kirk, the conservative commentator, as the death was announced on social media, saying by President Trump, saying no one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. So saying he was legendary for his empowerment, the fact that his voice resonated so fully with those in the youth movement that came out to the polls in a big way to push to get President Trump over the edge in this most recent election. Live picture right now there at the White House, the flags being flown at half staff for this. So we are still waiting. Reporters, though, in front of the cameras right now. So we are still monitoring it, and we'll take you out to it as soon as it happens. Let's take you right now to more witness sound, what they saw, what they heard on the ground in Utah.
It again, but what happened?
Well, I can tell you that us standing in the question line, there were a bunch of different people with a bunch of different people.
Sure.
Who were all talking to each other. I was helping a person of a different viewpoint actually role play to ask Charlie Kirk a question. And we were all laughing, joking, sharing, asking each other, what's your question? What's your question? And all the shooter did today is take the ability for us to come together and share different discussions, and they completely took that away from us. And anybody that has any idea of doing something like this in the future, that is all you're doing is taking away our ability as Americans. Myself as a veteran, I love situations like this where different people can come together with different viewpoints, and all you did was strip that ability for us to talk and have discourse and share ideas with each other. You stripped that away from us and just drove us further apart.
What did you see when you were in line and the shooting happened? Kind of describe that.
We were all watching Charlie. The first question was a question about LDS, which, of course, typical Utah, right?
Of course. Sure.
Oddly enough, the very second question that was asked when it had to do with transgender shooters, right? And I'm not saying that the shooter was transgender. I have no idea, and I don't think it's right for anybody to speculate as to whether or not that shooter was transgender. But conveniently enough, the very question that was being answered while Charlie got shot was a question about shooters and transgender. And the fact of the matter is that the shooter has issues. It's not whether or not they're transgender. It's not whether or not they're white, black, yellow, orange, green, like guys, like girls. What matters is the fact that this person has issues, that they feel murder is the way to resolve those issues.
You mentioned that you were a veteran.
Yeah.
When this happened, what did you do?
These are the types of situations where I served in Afghanistan in 2011. Gunshots aren't a foreign thing to me. I had actually had this discussion with other spectators how what Charlie was put in was a bowl, an absolute kill box, right? Okay. It's just a bowl with him on one end, and he does have an evacuation tunnel, which was great. But I had the discussion with them on, hey, you know, heaven forbid something happens today, this is what you need to do. Get up against the wall, go out through the tunnel. It's the safest way out. And when everything happened, that's exactly what I did. I said, everybody up against the wall, go out through the tunnel, everybody get down. And it was, I mean, it was just sheer panic. Sheer panic.
Could you tell where the shot even came from?
In a small enclosed space like that, and like I said, what we call a kill box, there's no telling. I had no idea. Yeah. But I'm going to leave that up to investigators and professionals to do that. But in a confined space like that, I don't care what anybody says. It's virtually impossible to tell what direction it's at.
When you look across the street now.
All right, you're just listening in there to these eyewitnesses talking about it, even dictating what the question was when the shot rang out. He was asked about shooters, about political violence in the recent weeks and months. And also, this is coincidentally the day is jury selection wrapping up in the Ryan Ruth trial, the second assassination attempt of the former president. And we're watching here on Live Now from Fox. Soon an update from the governor, Spencer Cox, to provide that in Utah, talking about the fatal shooting of this individual, Charlie Kirk, the conservative commentator. Let's be joined right now here on Live Now from Fox, law enforcement expert, friend of the program, David Katz. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And this is a very dynamic, fluid situation. A suspect still at large, a large manhunt. What, in your eyes, is law enforcement doing right now to apprehend this individual?
I would hope by now they have an identification, at least by photograph and camera and video. They may have a further identification. What we just spoke about off air, the incomprehensible statement early on that we have the shooter in custody. If you think about how completely reckless that was, because now that we know the shooter was not in custody, you had hundreds and thousands of people on the campus. You probably still had normal campus business ongoing, and you had an unsecured scene with someone who just murdered a fellow human being. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
And can we get to that? You said there should be an identity by now. How are they pulling that? Is that video camera from the university? Is that someone eyewitness? Where do you think that comes from?
My guess is, I mean, they should have, based on, I mean, again, it's still very early, but based on the trajectory of the shot, they know right now, they know the general direction in which it came. They may have a good indication as to whether it was, it had, my guess, it was upward with from an elevated position downward. That's what's being reported. I have no reason to doubt that. So that's gonna at least point them in a general direction. If one thing is true about college campuses, that they have plenty of cameras. Plus, every human being out there has a cell phone, which has a camera and video. So my guess is they got the school cameras first, and then they're pouring through possible witnesses. God willing, someone said, I saw the shooter, I have a video of the shooter, I have a picture, or even better, I know who it was.
Yeah, that is obviously the case. And I don't want to get into more, but I do want to show a tweet here, a social media post from Bill Maluzhin saying, per federal sources, Homeland Security investigation agents in Utah have responded to the location of Charlie Kirk's assassination. They're assisting with the manhunt for the shooter, remains at large. The prior report arrest was not the assassin. And we talked about that initially. And obviously the chaos of the moment, so many things are dynamic as someone points a finger and they think that is the shooter. How careful does law enforcement have to be in that moment to get the right individual to not put others at risk?
It's enormously important. And I don't know if you saw the clip, there was an individual, older gentleman with gray hair who was being dragged off, who was initially identified or believed to be the shooter. And there was a large crowd that was gathering and following behind and cursing at him and screaming. And one of the cops holding them said, hey, we're not sure. You don't know. We don't know if he did it. So there was at least there was some appreciation of the fact that it's a fluid scene. We're not for certain sure that this is the shooter. And guess what? Turns out it wasn't the shooter.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I do want to ask you about the security on hand for this, because Charlie Kirk is a very popular figure, but he's not an elected official. He doesn't have, say, Secret Service there at hand. And we heard from reporters on the ground that there were no metal detectors. They weren't even checking tickets for this event. Does that complicate things for law enforcement to really have no presence, to go there on hand, kind of going blind into this?
Well, I mean, to some extent, if we accept what's being reported thus far, and really I have no other basis of making any sort of conjecture, if it's true that the shot was from distance, say an overlook in a building 200 yards away, having metal detectors to screen the event would not have helped in this situation. I have no doubt that the security detail around Mr. Kirk, who apparently reacted very, very quickly and appropriately, their concern, without a doubt, was someone rushing the stage, a person who would either lunge at Mr. Kirk or draw a weapon, and so that was that close quarter danger. With respect to with the president, by the way, a complete failure at Butler, you have to consider how vulnerable would the president be, or any speaker, if someone was in that building on the roof, or in a particular kind of a dormitory window. So 200 yards, if that's an accurate number, is not a particularly difficult shot for anyone who has any facility with a firearm. How do you know that? Well, in the U.S. military, soldiers in the Army are qualifying at 300 meters, and the Marines are qualifying at 500 meters. So it's well within the, first of all, the gun. And by the way, just looking at the video, my guess was initially the first, I thought a couple things. Number one, small caliber, high velocity round. Unfortunately, as soon as I saw that video, I thought that's a non-survivable wound. But the effective range, and the question is, it's hundreds of yards. Yeah. And the question is, in civilian security, what can you do about it? Well, there are a few things, but what you can't do, you can't put counter snipers on roofs. You can't do that. You can obscure vision, for example. Like when Charlie was in that kind of canopy area. If you're worried about elevated position, you could hang banners, you could hang screens, or even an American flag just to obscure the view. You could shoot through that, but you wouldn't have a clear target. So that's one possible thing that they could have done.
Very interesting, and that is interesting just to show the capability, especially from the military background. David, hold on real quick. We're hearing reaction from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle there on Capitol Hill. Let me dive out to this real quick and hear some of their reactions. I'll bring you in here momentarily.
Worse and worse, and it's got to stop. And I don't care whether someone's liberal or conservative. It doesn't matter. It has to stop.
This afternoon. I mean, I think what has just transpired is tremendously disturbing. It is the latest evolution and instance of political violence in the United States, and it must end.
Congresswoman, what message do you have to your fellow lawmakers regarding the political environment? What message do you have to your fellow lawmakers regarding the political environment and the rhetoric that has been put out in the media?
You know, beyond rhetoric, we need to talk about action, and we need to talk about, yes, there are words, but most importantly, we are in a job of leadership. We are in a job of action. We are in a role and a position where the American people are looking to us to do something about this. And every single day, people are dying due to gun violence in America. And every single day, there are people in this building that continue to vote against doing anything. They vote against universal background checks. They continue to support legislation and also remove any way to block the mentally ill, to block extremists, to block people with histories and records of domestic violence from getting guns in their hands. So are we going to do something about this or not? We have a political assassination that happened at the same time as a school shooting where children are dying on the same day, a week after a
a shooting at a Catholic school where children were gunned down while praying? Are we going to do something, or are we going to argue over rhetoric? That is my question about this. We have to pass gun safety legislation and stop this.
What one congresswoman was saying, was yelling at Republicans, and it was Democrats.
I mean, people can finger point all they want. Look at the record. Look at the actions of what we are doing. I don't think a single person who has dedicated their entire career to preventing gun safety legislation from getting passed in this House has any right to blame anybody else but themselves for what is happening. We have to stop this. We can stop this. And why don't we start by acknowledging that basic common sense gun safety legislation is not taking away a gun, is not attacking the Second Amendment, but it is about ensuring the safety of our children, of women, of people across this country, to ensure that guns and firearms do not get in the hands of people who are going to use them against human beings, period. Domestic violence is one of the highest indicators of whether a person is going to kill someone else with a gun or not. There are so many other indicators. And I think it is so deeply important that when a politician tries to blame words for inaction, they need to look at their action and their record. Enough of this. This is horrific. This is awful. And the assassination of Charlie Kirk risks an uncorking of political chaos and violence that we cannot risk in America. We cannot risk. Thank you.
Are you worried about holding events in public?
All right, just listening in there, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talking about this here on Live Now from Fox. Her words saying uncorking political violence. We've seen different violent incidents at different locations, including schools there in South Minneapolis at Annunciation Catholic School very recently. We're still awaiting Spencer Cox, the governor of Utah, to step up to the microphone, but let's bring in right back here law enforcement expert David Chaffitz. Thank you for hanging out with us, for hanging on while we're jumping into some of that sound. But as we were talking about the investigation, she called it an assassination, and obviously prosecutors will have to go through later and figure out what charges they will bring against this individual. But do they take any assumptions at this point when they're starting an investigation to potentially help them out?
Well, I don't think it's a real investigative leap to figure out political bias or animus might be the motivating factor in this incident. I mean, I think that's just a no-brainer. Could it be something else? I mean, there's a difference between possible or slightly possible and plausible, and that's not plausible. So yeah, I think I finally can agree with Ms. Ocasio-Cortez on something. It was a political assassination. Her other comments were mind-bogglingly ignorant. Yeah, with respect to background checks, I would point out that the shooter just recently at a school passed a background check. What is not being done is the modification of HIPAA laws, where we have individuals who are under psychiatric care, who are interacting with medical professionals who can certainly, or even school counselors, or anyone in a capacity to make an evaluation as to their mental state or personality disorders, who cannot be reported in any sort of government database as being a person who maybe should not have access to a firearm. With respect to Ms. Ocasio-Cortez's comment about domestic violence, it's again, if you have a conviction of domestic violence, you're not getting a firearm, at least not legally. So that whole diatribe was absolutely incorrect, and I think it's an attempt to avoid just owning up to, yes, Charlie Kirk has been demonized as a junior Adolf Hitler, as Donald Trump has, and that somehow emboldens and empowers people who may or may not, by the way, may or may not be mentally unstable. They could be very rational, but believe they're stopping the future Hitler.
Yeah, no, and of course, that is potentially a conversation for another day. David, hang with us. We got more lawmakers speaking. We're going to take you out right now. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the representative from Georgia, now speaking with reporters.
Life and his two young children, and of course his family, and the whole Turning Point USA family, and it's the worst thing. Shocking, and everyone's really devastated. My children are devastated. just everyone I've known. There really aren't words.
Can you speak to his importance to the conservative movement, to your own political rise?
I really think what was great about Charlie Kirk, and I was just telling Tia this, is he would go on college campuses and tell young people to get married and have children, and just talk about how wonderful it is to be married and have children. He shared the Word of God. He was a Christian, and he shared the gospel of Jesus Christ, and he encouraged young people. And he also would have debates on ideas on college campuses, which, I mean, that's our First Amendment, and college campuses have always been a place for that. And I believe today he was killed for the words that he says and the things that he stood for. And we're honestly shocked. We're devastated, shocked, and angry. And those are just natural feelings.
How close were you to him?
Charlie Kirk was a friend. He was a good friend. I spoke at many of his events over the years, knew him when he was a lot younger. And, I mean, he's not much older than my oldest daughter. But I just think it's really, honestly, horrific.
What kind of legacy does he leave behind to the conservative movement?
Charlie Kirk leaves a huge legacy. It's going to be hard for anybody to fill his shoes. He was extremely important. Students all over the country would get very excited if they found out he was coming to their college campus. He brought in thousands of people to hear him speak. Even people that didn't agree with him would come, ask questions, even argue with him. He was always about the debate, and Charlie Kirk was never for violence. And to see him murdered in such a graphic way in front of the camera, and that video is too gruesome. Honestly, I hope it gets taken down. I don't think his wife or children one day should ever see it. I really hope it gets taken down. But I'm at a loss for words, and I'm not often at a loss for words.
How concerned are you about your own safety in the wake of this attack? I mean, he's a giant on the right. You were a giant on the right.
Yeah, he had asked me that too. Of course, I am very concerned. I have some of the most death threats in Congress, and they're always ongoing. But again, today it's not about me. Today it's about Charlie and his wife and his family and everyone that's mourning his loss.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Thank you.
All right, just listening in there, Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about the impact as Charlie Kirk leaves behind his wife and 2 children. You heard there Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about just the connection, since she is her mother herself, saying that the children are in similar age. And I do want to get back to this as the manhunt continues, and just to reiterate that they did initially say a suspect was in custody. They are backtracking on that. The Washington Post saying a person who was taken into custody after the shooting of Charlie Kirk was not the correct person, said a spokesperson for Utah Valley University. The shooter remains at large. We're expecting an update right now from Utah Governor Spencer Cox in the coming moments. I don't know how imminent this press conference is, but reporters there on hand for it. They're giving a mic check right now. Let's bring in back to the conversation right now David Katz, law enforcement expert. Thanks for hanging with us as we kind of jump around to all these live feeds during this very dynamic moment. But we know that the governor is going to speak here momentarily. We know that there is no suspect apprehended, at least reported right now. What could he be talking about? Is he just there to reassure people potentially?
I mean, there's always that aspect. I mean, the governor, well, first of all, the governor has to make a statement, given the high-profile nature of this incident. I'm hoping there's something a little more concrete that they can, maybe they've identified, an individual of interest. I'm hoping that's the case. The idea that they're this far along and not saying anything, that's a little distressing, given the fact that the shooter was clearly at large on campus with all those folks going on, in the area. That could have been another tragedy. But on the other hand, in law enforcement, the cops who are tracking down or trying to track down the shooter, I mean, it's not part of their mindset to we got to put something out for the media. So, I mean, as far as the ones who are doing the hunting, I don't expect anything from them. The politicians, on the other hand, may drop something.
And do you think that, I know this is the governor, but we might see law enforcement alongside, do you think they'll be asking for the public's help, assistance, trying to find the identity of this individual to see who they are or where they may have gone?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a possibility that this individual, whoever it may be, has made social media threats or had told somebody in their inner circle that they were contemplating doing this. So that would certainly be helpful if that in fact was the case. As I mentioned, and I don't know this for sure, but my guess is they've got good video, if not from the camera systems on campus, but from the thousands of people who were thronging the area. But I mean, these days, you could be in front of an ongoing train. Instead of getting out of the way, you put your phone up because you got to take the video. So I don't think there's any shortage of footage. I'm hoping they've made some identification. Maybe they'll show a photograph, and the publicity will get some public awareness and help.
And I asked this to Randy Sutton as well, but since we don't have a suspect right now, we don't really even know if he's still on campus or not. How wide of a net do they cast? Is it something that they go outside of the city, outside of the campus? How wide is it?
Well, you think about when this happened and where it happened. How far can you get to a train station, a bus station, a depot, an airport? Can you keep driving for hours? You could literally be hundreds of miles away, and if you got on a public transportation or on a flight, you're on the other side of the country or on the way. So it's unfortunate that they put out right away that the shooter was in custody, because that prevented they probably didn't even have the idea. Well, okay, we don't need to shut down the area around the college. That would have been helpful, but they didn't have to do that because, as it was reported, we have someone in custody, so why bother? So I think that was a crucial mistake. I'd hope to get a little more information on how that happened, but they have to cast a wide net now, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that is so very true. And obviously some of those frequencies that have been crossed, even they are potentially kind of getting some of these reports in, hearing that even through word of mouth of what's to come. And it looks like it could be any moment. So I'll have to cut you off as soon as the governor steps up. But what other questions do you have? Because obviously we look at it through a different lens. What are you most curious about, David?
I mean, I'd like to know a little bit more about the way they assess the security issues and challenges when they select a venue. I mean, that's something that I think needs to be looked at, especially for high-profile, individuals on either, by the way, on any side of the political spectrum, or even with celebrities. So that's something that I'd be very curious to find out whether they factored that as a possible threat in their security plan. By the way, they actually factored in and planned for an emergency evacuation. How do you know that? They positioned their cars properly. They had a team dedicated to grab him, to do that grab and go. So they clearly had some planning involved, but it could very well be that they say, look, we're in venues like this all the time, and how can you protect our client from people shooting from a high place, hundreds of yards away? I mean, there are set things you can do, but it is tough in the civilian sector. Secret Service, less so. They can do it. In private security, it's much, much harder.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, obviously some of this isn't the first campus that Charlie Kirk has attended. He's been to a variety of campuses through the campaign trail, 31 years old. They're the co-founder of Turning Point USA. So I do really quickly want to take us back out to Capitol Hill. David Katz, hang with us here. Jamie Raskin now at the mic answering some questions. Let's listen in.
Political rhetoric goes, though, do you believe that lawmakers on both sides need to tone this down?
Sure, I definitely believe lawmakers need to tone it down, and we should do our best to try to make friends with people on the other side of the aisle. I mean, we're all Americans, right? So I just don't accept the idea that to belong to a different political party means that you're in some kind of enemy camp. And we all have to reject that and struggle against it.
How do you struggle and reject that? I mean, it seems like so much of this comes from a cultural animus that's almost bottom up in a sense. Can you really display a top-down sense of an example to follow that you think will be effective?
Well, I think no, but we can display bottom up forms of friendship and relationship. And I hope we all can do it. I mean, obviously, in the House of Representatives, we got 435 people. You can't make close friends with everybody, but everybody can try to make friends with some people who are outside of their immediate, state or political group. I certainly try and do that, and I hope we all will try and do that. But it's a very dark time with the political violence spiraling out of control and gun violence a threat to everybody in the country.
You and other members of the former January 6th committee had stepped up security in the days after that committee. Are you worried for your own safety and the safety of your colleagues?
I mean, I'm worried for the country that we're in this state. We've got to step away from violence as a way of people expressing political differences or even, passionate feelings about things. We can model for our kids that we know how to use words, we know how to use language, we know how to have conversations. But the idea that people use violence as an instrument of their emotion is just intolerable. The whole reason we have a social contract is to make ourselves safer. And that means that we resolve conflicts within American society nonviolently. And that's something that every political leader and public official today should be speaking up for. And we should be modeling as much as possible civil dialogue, even when we have very strong disagreements about stuff. We've got to model civil disagreement. And then, I feel very strongly about gun violence and the unique situation the United States of America is in. And I've been very willing to talk to colleagues across the political spectrum and across the aisle about why I think we need to act. We have more than 90% of American people who support a universal violent criminal background check on all gun purchases. Commanding majorities support bans on assault weapons, so we don't, see, future horrors like we did in Newtown or in Parkland, Florida. Some people say it's impolite or impolitic to talk about policy solutions on a day when people are shot. Unfortunately, people are shot every single day in the United States of America. So how are we ever going to get out of this nightmare if we don't have an honest accounting of what's taking place in our own society?
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right, just listening in there to Jamie Raskin, the Democrat from Maryland, talking about this, the political violence and what eventually lawmakers can do about it. So we're still monitoring here on Live Now from Fox, potentially an update from lawmakers. You can see different reporters there standing in front of the microphone right now. We'll see how soon Spencer Cox is able to step up there and provide an update. The suspect is still at large in the fatal shooting of political commentator Charlie Kirk there, as President Trump confirming that, calling him legendary, saying he was a great person and a true American patriot. So monitoring this here closely on Live Now from Fox. Let's bring into the conversation lawmakers on the ground there in Utah. Utah State Rep Mike Peterson, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And I think a lot of people are continuing to grapple with why this happened, what's going on in Utah, what's going on in the country. What's your initial reaction?
And my initial reaction is absolute disappointment, sadness, heartbreak, and there's to be honest, there's anger, there's disgust, but primarily I'm just so heartbroken. Charlie's been such a wonderful voice. He's such a bright young man, faithful and just full of smart and articulate and able to persuade people so well. We're gonna miss him dearly.
All right, so thank you so much for that. And can I ask you just, where are you located right now? I know you went to BYU, familiar with kind of that area near Orem. Can you tell me any more about that? How familiar are you with the community? Can you tell us what that community is about?
In fact, my first college experience was at the same university, at Utah Valley University. That's where I started. And then I went from there to BYU, and then came up here to Logan and went to Utah State University to get my PhD.
And can you just speak to the community? What are they about? Obviously, we saw hundreds of people there at this event. Can you speak to that? Were people excited to see Charlie Kirk today?
Oh, you could tell by the crowds. And in fact, at lunch today, everyone I was talking with was about, because he's going to be here, and he was going to be here in a couple of weeks, and everybody's excited about Charlie to come and get to see him in person and talk with him. You know, this is a, for the most part, this is a conservative area. We love Charlie Kirk. He's been the most he's the biggest voice in America for the MAGA movement and for the conservatives, for folks like me. So we've been so excited to have him come.
Yeah, and obviously you mentioned just the amount of people. And real quickly, Mike, I do want to provide an update because we are hearing new information right now at this hour that a suspect has been apprehended in the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk. Kash Patel, the FBI director, saying the subject of the horrific shooting today that took the life of Charlie Kirk is now in custody, saying thank you to the local state authorities in Utah for your partnership with the FBI. We will provide updates when they become available. And we were expecting to hear from the governor, Spencer Cox, here momentarily. But obviously, they misidentified someone earlier on, saying it was in custody already. They backtracked on that, but now saying the FBI does have, the authorities in Utah do have this individual in custody. So potentially some good news with that. Mike, obviously this is a culmination of a lot of hard work from the law enforcement. Obviously that is good news that no other people potentially were harmed. What are your thoughts on that? And can you commend the law enforcement right now?
Well, I'm so grateful for that. In fact, I right now have a niece who is in lockdown right now at UVU, and then I've got other colleagues who've got children there. So I'm really grateful for law enforcement who stepped in and got this taken care of as quickly as they are, because we do need to keep that campus safe for those kids.
Yeah.
So thank you.
That is so very true, and you can see this is a live picture and potentially any moment now. I think they're about to give a mic check real briefly. So, Mike, thank you so much for your time here on Live Now from Fox. I appreciate your time. I'm glad, obviously, your family is safe there, saying they were on lockdown, a suspect now in custody. I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us here quickly on Live Now.
And thank you for covering this for us. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. All right, let's quickly shift gears here on Live Now from Fox. Take you right out there to Utah. Spencer Cox providing an update.
We'll first hear from Utah Department of Public Safety Commissioner Bo Mason. Then we'll hear from the FBI Special Agent in Charge, Robert Bowles. We'll then hear from Utah Valley University Vice President Val Peterson, who's been in touch with President Jimenez. And then we'll hear from Governor Cox. I'll turn the time over to Commissioner Mason.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bo Mason, Commissioner for the Utah Department of Public Safety. Today at approximately 12:20 Mountain Standard Time, political influencer Charlie Kirk was shot at an event at the Utah Valley University. He was taken by private vehicle to Timpanogos Hospital, where he later passed. The Utah Department of Public Safety will be co-leading this criminal investigation to find this killer, along with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We are working in unison with the County Sheriff's Office, the local police department, and the University Police Department, all of which have been very cooperative and fully engaged in this process. Shortly after the shooting, we did have a suspect in custody, George Zinn, but he was released from custody after we identified that he did not match the shooting suspect and was not an accurate person of interest. However, he has been booked into the county jail by Utah Valley University Police Department for obstruction of justice. We do still have an active investigation for the person of interest. This incident occurred with a large crowd around. There was one shot fired and one victim. While the suspect is at large, we believe this was a targeted attack towards one individual. This is a tragic moment in our state and in our country. As we heal, we encourage everyone who is struggling with news of the incident to call 988, our state mental health crisis line. In addition to that, our partners with the FBI will also be discussing other ways we can communicate through the public for tips and other information. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the FBI, we extend our sincerest condolences to the family and friends of Charlie Kirk. Our thoughts are also with the people who witnessed this traumatic event. We know that what you experienced was very difficult. Our thoughts are with you as well. As soon as we heard about the shooting, special agents and personnel from the Salt Lake field office responded immediately. We have full resources devoted to this investigation, including tactical, operational, investigative, and intelligence. To be clear, the FBI will fully support and co-lead this investigation alongside with our partners. We are working on setting up a digital media tip line, and as soon as it's established, we'll get that information out to everyone. I know there's a lot of questions. This is very much an active case, and this investigation is in its early stages. We are following all the leads and all the evidence. If anyone has any information, please report it to the FBI or local law enforcement. Thank you.
On behalf of President Jimenez, who we've been communicating with, and she's on her way back right now, I say that on behalf of Utah Valley University, we are shocked and saddened by the tragic passing of Charlie Kirk. We express our sincere condolences to the Kirk family. We grieve with our students, faculty, and staff who bore witness to this unspeakable tragedy. He was invited by the student group Turning Point USA to speak on our campus. We firmly believe that UVU is a place to share ideas and to debate openly and respectfully. Any attempt to infringe on those rights has no place here. We do not condone any form of violence at UVU and seek to make our campus a safe place for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this dark and tragic occasion. I want to thank our law enforcement officers who are leading this investigation, starting with Chief Long and his response here with the UVU Police Department. We're grateful for your leadership and your team. And again, to the speakers that you've just heard from who are co-leading this investigation. I also want to recognize Sheriff Mike Smith, who has been an invaluable partner as this investigation moves forward. I've been in touch with President Trump, with FBI Director Kash Patel. We are completely aligned with our state and federal partners as we work through this case. Now, this is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination. We are celebrating 250 years of the founding of this great nation. That founding document, the Declaration of Independence, that this great experiment on which we embarked together 250 years ago, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The first one of those is life. And today, a life was taken. Charlie Kirk was first and foremost a husband and a dad to two young children. He was also very much politically involved, and that's why he was here on campus. Charlie believed in the power of free speech and debate to shape ideas and to persuade people. Historically, our university campuses in this nation and here in the state of Utah have been the place where truth and ideas are formulated and debated. And that's what he does. He comes on college campuses and he debates. That is foundational to the formation of our country, to our most basic constitutional rights. And when someone takes the life of a person, because of their ideas or their ideals, then that very constitutional foundation is threatened. Now, we have a person of interest in custody. The investigation is ongoing. But I want to make it crystal clear right now to whoever did this, we will find you. We will try you. And we will hold you accountable to the furthest extent of the law. And I just want to remind people that we still have the death penalty here in the state of Utah. Our nation is broken. We've had political assassinations recently in Minnesota. We had an attempted assassination on the governor of Pennsylvania. And we had an attempted assassination on a presidential candidate and former president of the United States, and now current president of the United States. Nothing I say can unite us as a country. Nothing I can say right now can fix what is broken. Nothing I can say can bring back Charlie Kirk. Our hearts are broken. We mourn with his wife, his children, his family, his friends. We mourn as a nation. If anyone in the sound of my voice celebrated even a little bit at the news of this shooting, I would beg you to look in the mirror and to see if you can find a better angel in there somewhere. I don't care what his politics are. I care that he was an American. We desperately need our country. We desperately need leaders in our country. But more than the leaders, we just need every single person in this country to think about where we are and where we want to be. To ask ourselves, is this it? Is this what 250 years has wrought on us? I pray that that's not the case. I pray that those who hated what Charlie Kirk stood for will put down their social media and their pens and pray for his family, and that all of us will try to find a way to stop hating our fellow Americans. With that, we're happy to take a few questions.
The FBI director is posting that a suspect is in custody. I would just like clarification. Do you or do you not have a suspected shooter in custody?
We have a person of interest in custody that is being interviewed right now.
That is not George Zinn.
That is not George Zinn. That is correct.
Are you still searching or looking for another shooter or anybody else related to this?
Yes, we are actively looking for anyone and everyone who has any possible information relating to this shooting.
Can you tell us details about the suspect being taken into custody? Where? How long ago?
We cannot at this point, but we will get you that information when we can.
Is there believed to be a second individual involved in the shooting?
At this point, there is no information that would lead us to believe that there is a second person involved.
Can you guys talk about the possible shooting?
Do you want to talk about what we know there?
Yeah. The only information we have on the suspect, the possible shooter, is taken from closed-circuit TV here on campus. We do have that. We're analyzing it, but it is security camera footage, so you can kind of guess what the quality of that is. But we do know dressed in all dark clothing, but we don't have a much better description other than that.
Where do you think the shot came from?
The shot came from here on campus, from a location at a fair, potentially from a roof, yes. A longer distance shot from a roof.
So to clarify, with the security camera footage you have and the person of interest that's in custody, does that match up?
That's what we're trying to decipher right now.
So
So did FBI or DHS have anything on the threat board this morning?
I can't speak.
I'll just say that the investigation is ongoing, and as soon as we have further information, we will be sure to release it.
Any indications of foreign intelligence involvement?
As of now, I can't comment on any of that.
Can you talk a little about the security of the event itself? Who was there security-wise, and what happens on these kind of events?
Chief Long.
So my name is Jeff Long. I'm the police chief here at UVU, and I'll tell you right now, we're devastated. We're a small police department. We have a very large campus. We have over 40,000 students, and we love our students. We love our visitors, and we're devastated by what happened today. This is the police chief's nightmare. I'm very saddened for the Kirk family. I know his wife and parents found out about this. You know, obviously he's away from home. He's here in Utah. They find out by a police officer that visits their home. That's tragic. Nobody wants that. But I can tell you about our venue today. This was an open venue. This was outside. We did have 6 officers working that event. We had probably over 3,000 people that were in attendance. It sat down in kind of a bowl area here on the central campus. We have a waterfall area, and so he was kind of in a lower area, surrounded by buildings. We had some plainclothes police officers that were in the crowd as well. We train for these things, and you think you have things covered, and these things. Unfortunately, they happen. You try to get your bases covered, and unfortunately today we didn't. And because of that, we had this tragic incident. So we did have officers there. We had Charlie Kirk's team. He has a security team that travels with him, and they were here with him when he was shot.
Was the gun recovered?
I'm sorry. See?
Was the weapon recovered?
At this point, I can't disclose that.
Who made the arrest?
There was a question being asked about mass shooting. Was that person apprehended? And do you know who asked that question?
Say the question again. I don't know if I understand what you're saying.
When Charlie Kirk was shot, he was answering a question about mass shootings specifically. Was that person apprehended? And do you know who asked that question?
I do not. We do not have that at this moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have time for just one more question, so thank you.
Yeah, a question for the chief as well. Was it your team or Kirk's team or a combination of both that kind of set the security protocol for the event?
So we work together. He has his team, and they do this all over the country. We all know that. This is not uncommon for them. They're very comfortable on campuses, and I was coordinating with his lead security guy, and we were working together.
Was this a sharpshooter type shot?
Ladies and gentlemen, those are all the questions that will be answered today. Again, thank you for covering this. We will be updating you as soon as we have additional information through normal channels, working with law enforcement. Again, our deepest condolences to the Kirk family and to the students who were there today. I would just ask everyone everywhere to please pray for their family and to pray for our country. We need it now more than ever. Thank you.
All right, just listening in there, that was the chief of Utah Valley Police alongside Utah Governor Spencer Cox providing an update, and it was somewhat vague off the top on exactly if they did not have that individual in custody, and they are saying a person of interest is in custody. They're not looking for a second potential shooter or anyone else associated with that person. They are trying to get witnesses and different perspective on this, but a person of interest, they're not calling it a suspect at this point. So obviously also calling it a dark day, a political assassination. That's what Governor Cox of Utah said there at that press conference, flanked by different law enforcement, including the FBI. And this was the post from Kash Patel, the FBI director, that came down just immediately prior to this event, saying the subject of the horrific shooting today that took the life of Charlie Kirk is now in custody. Thank you to the local and state authorities in Utah for your partnership with the FBI. We'll be providing updates as they become available. They also didn't get into too much of the investigation, but they were talking about the single shot that was fired potentially from a building at a great distance away from the location. Charlie Kirk was holding a microphone, sitting down under a white tent, answering a question coincidentally about shooting, about political violence and active shooters recently. So, of course, all of this going on. So we'll see what comes of it next, as they're also talking about the full extent of it.
So we've been on the air for
Political assassination there.
we've been on the air for about 3, almost 4 hours now. It's one of the longest shows I've ever done. If you're still watching this, choose love. You want to avenge Charlie Kirk. You want to honor his memory. You do it by keeping the movement alive. You do it by never stopping the fight for the values that made this country great. You do it by furthering the America First agenda. You do it by winning. For my local audience who's still here, we're working on putting something together for this weekend, a vigil for Charlie and for all of us, because we all need it. I just want you guys to know that, look, this is a real fear for people to do this. It's not easy. Guys, if you're watching this in your local, stay tuned. Over the course of the evening, over the course of tomorrow, we're going to be putting something together. Something where we can all be together. Guys, keep Charlie's wife, Erica, and his 2 kids in your thoughts and prayers tonight. I think Charlie would have ran for president at some point, and he would have won. Guys, I'll catch you back live tomorrow at 3 p.m. Have a good night, everybody.